Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast, episode 494. Welcome to Raging Bullets. I'm Sean Whalen, drnorge. I'm joined as always by my co-host Jim. Sean just tried to fold 500 episodes into the show. So says the sensei of the whatnot, Segulin, the Duke of and the elder statesman of the podcast.
How's it going, eh?
When we first started recording this, I said it was episode, 994, I think, or something like that. Which would have been like an addition of, 500 episodes on there? Yep. Hey, it would have kind of appropriate considering that this episode, we're going to be talking about the Superman story. We're going to start with the Superman Reborn storyline that kicked off in Superman number 18. And we're taking it all the way to the current issues of Superman and Action Comics. Action Comics was issue 977, am I correct?
Yep.
Okay. So we're going to be talking about those books. And we are proud members of the Comics Podcast Network, the League of Comic Book Podcasts, and the InfiniteComics.com podcast partnership. Mr. Segulin, we are sponsored this episode by DCB Service and InStockTrades.com. Can you please tell me what is happening over at DCBService.com?
Well, as always, we got our bundles, and I keep talking about these bundles so you guys know about them. 50% off, all the different, really great DC titles that they've got going on, different bundle packets, Vertigo, multiple for the DC titles. But you know what else I got to talk about right now? I got to talk about some statues because we've got a lot of options this month, and I'm salivating over all of them. First up, we've got some black and white statues by Amanda Connor. Black and white Batman, black and white Harley Quinn. I'm like, oh my God, these look awesome. 32% off each of them, only $54.40 for them. But there's more. Justice League movie statues, Aquaman, Flash, Wonder Woman. Each one also 32% off, each one $102. We've got some great options here, and I'm trying to figure out which one, if not all of them, I am going to go with this month. Thank you, DCBS.
Over at InStockTrades.com, Jim. InStockTrades.com is a place where a lot of times I'm like, how did I miss that? I've been collecting these Golden Age Omnibus hardcovers. Batman Volume 3 came out, and I missed it. I didn't order it. It's 50% off, only $37.50. These are great because we've gotten those soft cover versions, the chronological ones, and I like those just fine, but there was a limited amount of issues in those because they were thin volumes, so it seemed to be just like taking a really long time to move forward with those. Quite like them, though. These are big volumes, big tomes that collect them. Actually, I've got you some. We still haven't seen each other. I've got your holiday gifts, and I've got you a couple of these volumes for yourself, for your collection.
Ooh,
but not only do they have that one, but they have the Batman Nightfall Omnibus hardcover, Volume 1. This Nightfall stuff, I've collected it in trade. I've got the singles. This is a storyline to me. It's one of my favorite Batman storylines because I just remember this being just this pivotal Batman event. I'll get it in a hardcover, in an omnibus hardcover. That for me is exactly what I want. That's 50% off, only $49.99. So I'm glad they're collecting these, and that's over at InStockTrades.com. I check them out periodically because I do. A lot of times we're doing pre-ordering. I will, like you mentioned, statues, right? So I'll see a couple statues that I like, and I'll end up getting those. And I'm looking at my budget, and maybe I don't look at hardcovers or trades. I end up looking at that. That winds up being a big difference for me. So then when I see them come out over at InStockTrades.com, I'll end up grabbing things, and I'm still getting them at 50% off. So it just winds up being a great way to catch things that you've missed. And they're always offering deals on books over there. They've got various DC deals going on right now. They have free upgrade on shipping depending on what you order. So you should definitely go over, check out the site. They still have that variant cover by Jose Luis Garcia Lopez for that Justice League versus Suicide Squad #1, who is just a brilliant artist. So there's a lot of really cool, unique things going on over at InStockTrades.com. So I want to thank both DCB Service and InStockTrades.com for supporting our show. Jim, what kind of podcast are we?
Raging Bullets, DC Spoiler Cast. Raging Bulls is a spoiler podcast. We go in depth into plotline, story twists, and whatnot of the comics we're discussing on today's show. So, if you haven't read the books, you may want to come back later so you can better enjoy. Enjoy the show.
Wow. Let's talk some comics.
We are Crystal Men from Mercury. We have no quarrel with you.
Jim, on this episode, we're going to talk casually about the whole Superman Reborn storyline, because it's a big storyline, and I think really we're going to talk about not just the Superman Reborn storyline, but the events leading up to it, and how the big implications of this on the DC Universe. Besides that, we're going to talk about the most current issue of Superman and Action Comics that take place right after this Reborn storyline, so we're going to actually talk up to current. But this has been a major change, because we started off the New 52 with the New 52 Superman. It was a complete reboot of Superman, a new start to Superman. Then all of a sudden, gradually, we got introduced through that crossover storyline. Why am I drawing a blank on the name of this one for right now? You know, the big crossover that brought Superman and Lois Lane back into the DC universe.
Right.
The previous ones.
Yes.
Convergence, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in Convergence, we got that Lois and Clark series, which was phenomenal, talking about these two and their son. And I guess I always thought that they were going to stay separate. I thought it was going to be a thing, kind of like what they did with the classic Golden Age Superman with JSA, you know, where like Superman would be around for a while. They'd probably write him out in a storyline or something like that. He, Lois, and John go off into the sunset. Not knowing that they would have a storyline where now all of a sudden the New 52 Superman dies and they take over and start embedding themselves into a life that has already been taking place. Lois took the role of Lois Lane, who died in Superwoman. Clark really just became Superman. He didn't become Clark Kent. So they kept their kind of identities that they've kept for years in the New 52 universe. I really like the idea that these two had been here for quite some time, living lives behind the scenes. They were affecting things behind the scenes. I guess I didn't see there being a link between the two different ones. I thought this was, and now it kind of all comes together in the sense that it turns out that this really was the Superman that was meant to be here all along. He and Lois, the New 52, Lois and Clark, actually are the same people. The red energy and the blue energy, which has a rich history in Superman being brought together. A very heady storyline, but a very Superman storyline in the whole thing. And I've got to say, for as crazy as it sounds in the first 2 minutes we're talking about this, I loved this. This is the kind of Superman stuff that I really dig. Because they found a way to fold all of the continuity back into itself again, put everything the way that we know and love it, and yet somehow have it make sense. Because it actually all works for me. There's not a part of me that's kind of like, okay, this doesn't work. I actually really like the way it's a very Superman way of folding this all in together. It's the same way that I liked how they folded in Hawkman together back in the day. I'm loving this. Where are you at?
Oh God, dude, man, I'm absolutely just stoked about the super universe. You know, it's one of the things. I loved the New 52 Superman. Absolutely loved the way they were doing the character. Loved him and the Wonder Woman relationship, and just I was a big fan of that. And then they introduced these. I'm like, hey, that's kind of cool. Then they show him, hey, he's in the modern world. I'm like, oh, that's kind of neat. We got both of them. And like you, I didn't know where this was going to go. With two Superman, it's the whole Highlander rule. There can be only one. So I kind of figured one of them was going to go away. And my money was on the young blood, them getting rid of the New 52, just because this version is such a classic version. I could see them, refolding them back into the mix, but I didn't know how the process was going to happen. So when the first one dies off, when the New 52 dies off, I was like, okay, here's how they're bringing them in, but again, I didn't see them completely folding everything in together. I was expecting them to keep it as this is this new guy and the other heroes got to get used to him and this and that. And then when Lois took over for Lois, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And we have this fake Clark Kent. I was like, okay, that in my head, I knew once the real Clark Kent dealt with a fake Clark Kent, he would take over that lifestyle. So I'm thinking, okay, they're setting this up. But again, I didn't see where it was going, who the fake Clark Kent was. Didn't see them, for a lack of term, fixing the universe and getting everything in alignment with each other. So now there's only just this one line. There is just this one Superman. And they took all this energy and they put it together. And just the way they did it was a beautifully told story over multiple issues, and this was something they've been building, and ever since Convergence they started introducing these characters, getting us to know these characters, getting us to know John, getting us to know Lois again, Clark again, just let us see who these people are. And I thought the way they took their time with this was, for me, one of the great things, because I was having a ball with all these Superman stories and just wondering, okay, where's this going to go? And once again, the ending was what I wanted. And I'm not saying like, I wanted the death of the new Superman. No, I wanted a really cool story that explains everything. I wanted a story that gives us this flow through, but at the end of that story, I still want the story to continue. And they did that. They gave us beginning, middle, ending of a story, but it's still open for where's it going to go next? What's the aftermath of this? And I think that for me was a great planning and, just the level of strategery that the creative team had on this. They really gave us a complete story and set up the future. I'm very, very happy.
Yeah, I am too. Now, as a resident skeptic, and this is one of the things that I really want to talk to you about, were you skeptical of this at all? Because we had two Supermen running around. Did you ever think that Lois and Clark, meaning the older ones, that there was going to be some kind of swerve or something with that whole thing? Just because I know how you are, you tend to see those things in stories. And I don't mean that in any way as there's ways where you can look really positive at a storyline. There's ways where you can look negative on a storyline. There's ways where you can see all different avenues. One of the things I really enjoy about podcasting with you is you tend to see potentials for things going wrong and often are very right about them. Did you see anything with this, or where was your head at? Was it the current one, Lee's? I'm sure you did on some level. I don't know what you saw though.
Oh God. Yeah. I was looking at, just what could change, what could happen. One of the things I was thinking was this, before Lois Lane of this, the Superwoman died, I was thinking we could lose this Lois and Clark, but not John. So now here is the new 52 Superman, this kid who is his kind of son. What's he going to do? And I could see the new 52 Superman taking this kid under his fold, taking him under his wing, saying, hey, you become Superboy now.
And I still don't want that.
Oh, no, I didn't want that either.
No, but I mean, I see your point. Like, when they brought them back, I was like, oh, no. Are they going to do this to have them young again? And then because I thought you're talking about during the Reborn storyline, you thought this is where it was going to go?
No. I was talking well before the new 52 Superman and the new Lois Lane died. While they were still alive, when they first introduced the original couple with John.
Got it.
I was thinking that could be a possible story. Because, the main thing in my head, I was thinking, okay, what happened is what I was thinking was going to happen. Something was going to happen to Lois. Something happened to new Lois. Something was going to happen to new Superman. And the originals, for lack of better term, will take over. That's what I was thinking would happen. But as I'm looking, I'm thinking, okay, what about this possibility? What about this possibility? Then when Lois died, the new 52 Lois died, and, this Lois took over. I was like, okay, she could take over for Lois. Then we have these two Superman, one of them, but again, the whole time I'm thinking the new 52 Superman's going to die, but I was like, they could do a story swerve and kill off this Superman, and we'd have the new 52 Superman, the original Lois Lane, and Jonathan Kent trying to figure out what's going on. And there was a lot of different ways I was playing this where they could have gone. Now, ideally, what happened is what I was hoping would happen, and by hoping, I'm not knocking the new 52 Superman. Loved him. Loved that whole storyline. I think in a perfect world, it'd be kind of neat if they could have figured out a way to have two Supermen in this universe, but I don't think they would ever do that. Or, it's a weird thing where I was like, I'm loving this because this is my Superman. So he's back. In a way, he's always been here. So it's okay. And it's, it's one of those weird, cool comic things that, we get away with in this universe.
Yeah. I like how they did that. Well, here's the thing. It's really broadcasting the point that if these two are the Superman and Lois Lane of this world, then is this I guess I'm running off the trick that this really is the previous world that's been messed with. That part for me is getting me much more excited for where things are going with this universe, because what happens when they discover it? What happens with Batman when he discovers it? Because that's next. Because he and Flash have been onto this for a while now, and we know there's a crossover coming in the Batman and Flash title where they're going to start addressing some of this. What do you think of the pace of this overall big storyline that's going on in the universe? Because it's appearing in multiple titles. It's organic because it's appearing in the titles that are relevant to particular characters. Like, I liked in the opening part of this issue when Mixus Pitlick escaped that, there was things that we've only seen previously in Detective Comics were happening here in the Superman books. And so how do you like the pacing of this and how it's happening? I'm enjoying it. I like that it's organic. I like that if you get it, you have an idea what's going on if you're not reading every title. But if you are, I like when things pop up organically and you're like, yeah, man, now more of this. I'm excited. Didn't need to have it for Reborn, but it sure added another layer and element for it.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. And you keep throwing out organic, and I like that because that's something the way they're laying out this mystery has been very natural and very just, comfortable with where they're doing it. It's never been what? Why are they doing that there? It's they putting it in. They're picking their shots well. And I don't know if that's editorial, if that's creative, if that's just everybody firing on all cylinders, or how and whatnot this is playing out. But whoever and whomever or multiple people are involved with this, thank you, because this is how you want a story to get told. Like right here, that Tim appear, in issue 18 of Superman, that was awesome with Tim going, he got out, and he's exciting. Then even they showed a Doomsday sitting there laughing that somebody got out, and I thought that for real, I was like, man, that is a cool thing with having these characters. And again, anytime I'm seeing these people, they fit. Anytime Jonathan's appearing, whether it's in the Super Action, Super Sons, any appearances in Detective Batman, anytime this kid pops up, he feels like it's the same character. Same thing with Superman and with Lois. When they're being used, it feels like, yes, this is the same people who, I'm seeing in the other titles. And anytime like that great Flash appearance that Superman had with Wally in Titans. That was a great, just those two interacting, that this Superman knows that Wally West. He knows his past story. That for me was a great usage of this character and this overarching story to explain, yes, this is one giant universe. So they're doing a really good job with this. And it's one of those things where I want to see it end just because I want to see the story continue. I want to see where it goes, but I'm having such a fun time with it that I'm like, take your time, guys. This is kind of neat. Anytime I get these, oh, that's cool. Oh yeah. Like they're starting the Aftermath stuff. And I noticed there's going to be Aftermath titles, not just in the Super books, but in other books as well, that interacted and interconnected with Superman. So I want to see those issues. I want to see the Aftermath issues of Superman Reborn in the other titles. So this is, again, give me a comprehensive universe. Give me something that interacts and interlocks with each other. Not to the point where I have to buy every single issue, but to the point where if I am getting these multiple issues, I'm like, oh, that's cool. Oh, that's neat. Because these characters would interact and they should interact, and there should be some type of connection and or continuity.
Here's another way of looking at that, though, and I'm agreeing with everything you're saying. I think what you need to do is an Aftermath issue, and the reason why you need to do it, for example, New Superman and Superwoman are both getting Aftermath issues, where you're going with this. They're two titles that are drastically affected by the events that have happened here. So not drastic, I mean, Superwoman in particular is pretty heavily affected by this one, but New Superman interacted with this, so there's an effect on this. I think it's important when you do that with titles like this because your Superman's a different guy now, so that affects New Superman. I like that you let's say that somebody's a reader of just New Superman. They should be brought up to speed on how this event affects their book. Superwoman. Let's say you're like not a regular Superman reader, but all of a sudden you saw Lois Lane on the cover of Superwoman, and you picked up that title, and we're following the adventures of Lois and Lana, and then eventually Lana in that title, and you're like, I'm not a big Superman fan usually, but Superwoman's a title that I just, single book, every month, I collect and read. You want to give them an issue, or few issues, however long they're going to do the aftermath, where it brings readers of those titles up to speed so they don't have to be reading all the Superman titles. But if, let's say they read the event or whatever, they are able to jump back into their title, continue on like normal, knowing what the new status quo and rules are for their particular world, and so they can move along. I think that's important, if I'm making sense, that you don't have to be reading even if you didn't read the crossover, you don't have to be reading any of those, you just have to be brought up to speed. And I'm hoping that's what those issues are. I haven't read the Superwoman one. I don't know if it's out. I know the new Superman issue's out.
The Superwoman isn't out yet.
Yeah. The new Superman one just came out this week though, and I haven't had a chance to read it yet. But, I'm excited to read that because I'm enjoying that book, so I want to see how they address this in that particular title, just because it's neat. I like the way this is working. Like, I'm looking at this issue 18, I'm just paging through it right now and just remembering some of my favorite events. I'm a big Back to the Future fan. I like time travel and all that. To see that bit where, we got Clark there. At this time, we don't know it's Mixus Pitlick. So we got this other Clark Kent that's there, which, is it the new 52 Superman? Is it not? What's going on? What is with this character? He shows up on the scene very confused, which leads me to believe that this is a guy who's mad because people stole his life. So there was part of me that was thinking that was a piece of this on some level. So he shows up, and all of a sudden Jonathan's being erased from their world. That's when you start to see things unfold in a way. So I was thinking, is it Ozymandias, or whoever the hooded, I'm assuming that's who the hooded character is. If it's not, it's somebody else, fine. But was he part of this? Was it Dr. Manhattan? Not realizing that it was going to go to one of Superman's big bads, Mixus Pitlick, who we haven't seen in ages. What a great use of this character. But I loved the pacing of that whole sequence, because this is Superman, who's a character we're used to seeing as all-powerful, right? Well, poor Superman, can't do anything in this. This is his weakness, magic, right? So this stuff unfolding around him is the one thing Superman can't do anything about. He and Lois are like holding on together, trying to save their son. He's trying to protect his wife, protect his kid. I love this sense of danger with his family. I am completely captivated by this family of three and really applaud them for, if you're going to choose to make the new version of Superman, the one that we're following, somebody over the new 52 one, totally go with the legacy one. I love this sense of longevity of this character. I love the fact that he's got a family now. I love that it's interesting. I think John brings a whole new layer of cool to it. I love they brought back now that these are the Kents and they are the farmers, and bringing all those elements back in again, it makes me giddy, because this is the kind of stuff, these are the basic tenets of Superman. He should be like, small town America, and I don't know, there's something charming about all of that, and it works. And I'm so glad they're recognizing it, because just even paging through the first issue of this, I'm like, man, they got an exciting story here where I'm really worried about this family. I care about even now, I know how it ended, and I'm still worried as I'm paging through this issue. That's a great way to build drama.
Yeah. Well, they did a great job with these characters, getting us to know them and love them. And,
yes.
It's one of those things in the comic books, when they really get you to love a character, then they start doing stories like this, you're like, they're not going to kill him off, are they? They can be too invested. And this is something they did with these, this family. I love this issue because when you get Superman in a desperate mode, when you get him just scrambling and just bobbing and weaving, and just doing everything he can to hold on. That for me was just those powerful scenes, especially you get to that ending when, Jonathan's sitting there like, don't let me go, Dad, don't let me go. He's like, I won't, never. And he's sitting there and you got Superman crying. Come on, right there. That's a powerful moment. Just he's sitting there, stay with me, focus on my eyes, just trying to keep his son there, just will his son to stay there. And I was like, man, that for me, you're like, hoorah, that's a Superman moment, just because it's time for him to throw down and time for him to bring his son home. And that for me, it was those really cool moments that, powerful gripping that the kid's leaving, and then they open the book and everything's gone. All the pictures, all the Kent family. It's not just Jonathan's who's gone, but it's their life that's gone. And I love just how, it was a great lead-in, and you talk about pacing just over these 4 issues. We still haven't seen who the big bad is. We know it's the other Clark, but we still don't know who it is. I thought that for me, I was like, man, that is great. And just how even in, the next issue, how, in Action 975, how they played it out, how they, brought it out that it was actually, the Big M.
Are you looking at that issue, that Action issue, the second one, part 2, by any chance? Because look at this. Can you look at the second page? Because it's the first double page spread. It's the one where they're flying. The first page they had just talked about going after their son, who was kidnapped. Then the second page is a double page spread with multiple panels, and it starts with Superman at the top flying past carrying Lois. Can you look at the middle panel where you see them flying? Look at Lois's eyes.
Yeah,
you see actually from flying, because I do think part of that is due to flying, how your eyes would tear up from the wind. Not saying that she's not crying because of her son, but if you take a look at most of the time throughout this whole bit, she is, she's pretty, not calm, but angry, more than anything else. So I do think the tears are coming from the sense of her son being in danger and all that. But what I'm trying to say is you actually see the tears responding to the fact that they're flying. They're going back towards her ear. I really appreciated the detail. Whatever she's crying, whatever the tears are coming from, I know part of it's from John, part of it's due to natural wind from the flight. I liked both elements of it, so there is an emotional piece to that as well. I guess what I'm loving, I love tiny details in art, where an artist takes the time to say, well, how should these tears really flow if they're in the middle of flight? And they do. I know it's a silly little thing to point out, but I just appreciated the artistic detail in this. Doug Mahnke just does a great job on the art, and I really should comment on the inks and the colors as well. It's Jaime Mendoza on inks, I hope I'm getting that right, and Will Quintana on colors. Just a great team. Again, different art style than the previous issue, which I really enjoyed artistically, but man, am I digging this in its overall presentation. It's really great.
Oh yeah, and actually, as you're talking about art, let's just, with each of these issues, we've got, the creative teams is shifting around, and that's something I really was impressed with, how none of this was jarring for me. Because when we're getting ready for this, for the episode, I read them from, Superman 18, Action 975, Superman 19, Action 976. So I went boom, 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 right in order, sat down in one sitting, just reread these things again. And even though we have different art teams and different art styles, these things just really meshed well that I never was jarring by oh wow, okay, yeah, this is the different team. It just went right from story to story to story, and it just continued on. Again, it's something that with the multiple per month, with the art teams they're picking. Same thing with the art teams within the Superman titles. Each one of these teams has their own flow and their own vibe, and I completely agree with you on that art scene with the tears streaking back. But this is, I think, again, something that DC is firing on all cylinders with their art team selections. We're getting some really great, artists, but we're also getting these art team pair-ups for an individual title, 2 different teams, but also within the Superman family, we have these multiple teams working together, and their art, just jives and flows, and just, it's something that, I'm in my head, I'd like to think that they were, the editors were like, yeah, okay, we got to lay this out. Yeah, these people would match up well. And I want to, in my head, I got this image of this team laid out to say, yeah, we want these on these, we want these on this book. I don't know if that's the actual case, if they actually put that much thought into it, but it looks like it to me. For me, it looks like it, and I think that's something I really appreciated, again, in this story. Not just the story told, but the visual side of this story as well.
Yeah, the visual piece is fantastic. I think here's the thing with great comics, right? It's all about storytelling. It's storytelling through the dialogue, storytelling through the visuals. There's a flow. And one of the things I really love about different creative teams when they gel is they develop their own sense of style. There's a style to it, right? You can give the same thing to TV, to film. These different delivery mediums, the reason why things aren't cookie cutter is because it's an art. And all artistic delivery lends itself to being something where you go, wow, I agree with you. And not only was it not jarring, I thought they did, and I know this is what you're saying, they just did a bang-up job of just making this page after page excitement. Like, I'm going to be honest, I read through it again like you did. I just remember loving the amazing artwork and the story. it was almost like my mind just naturally shifted and went along, and it wasn't even a thing other than admiring just how great it was. And I think that's probably a sincere compliment to all the creative teams, because I think it's on the writers and the artists and everybody involved in a comic issue to give you the sense of disbelief, right? You got to pull me into your reality. In that time, and this has been true since my childhood straight on through, my favorite comics are the ones where I am so invested in the story that people talk, we've had guests on the show many times who've pointed out their own quote unquote mistakes. And I use that in captions because a lot of times when I'm reading, I really admire these people so much because when I was reading, I didn't really notice them because I was so enjoying what they delivered to me. But I guess what I'm pointing out is every artist, because of the fact they're on deadlines and these books need to move and they get out there. And sometimes you're dealing with guests who finished like the last couple pages of an issue because of the fact that they've got to stay on a deadline. And if all of the people involved do a job really well, I'm so captivated by what they delivered to me that my mind's eye lets me just kind of go along and really enjoy the experience because the parts, when they all came together, were so good that they just let me keep going and keep enjoying. This is a great story that did that for me, where we were shifting between issues and different art teams, but man, the attention to detail was so great. The little pieces that they were putting in were so captivating that knowing that there was different art styles just really was such an insignificant piece because the quality of both teams was so great. As they're going through this apartment, they went to Clark's old apartment. Lois is sitting in that moment. She's trying to put the puzzle pieces together. Like, why was he here at this place? And they're putting the clues together. This person actually wasn't eating. He was, I love the reporter-like investigation, the tiny details of the fact that everything was sugar foods. Like he's eating like a 10-year-old. and those, like, the math is not working out. You look in the fridge, you see the same thing. If this guy is really Clark Kent, or any variation of Clark Kent, he seems to vanish on a whim. And we saw that in previous issues where, like, he was there 1 minute, then not there the next. People saw him leave and then didn't see him leave. It was, and coming and going was, like a mystery. How you'd get up like 2 flights of stairs and all of a sudden the guy wasn't there. I really loved the way this played out as a mystery where you started questioning him and what he really was. I never saw it being Mixus Pitlick. I never saw it actually going there, but I loved the way, instead of just revealing that at the end of the first issue, we saw that somebody got out. And if it's fun to go back and reread that first issue, knowing it's Mixus Pitlick that we're looking at.
Yeah.
But man, they really did a great job of making me ride along with Lois and Clark as they were searching for their son, using clues that 2 reporters would use. Seeing them team up together the way that we've always seen them in our favorite Superman stories, trying to find their kid, was really cool to me. This is a sense of progression. This is the kind of stuff I want to see in my comics. I like following serialized medium for this kind of stuff. Feeling like these are the same characters I've been reading for years and years and years since I was a kid. And loving every minute of this.
Oh God, yeah. And I tell you, it's with 975, just, you throw out the art team just because I'm glad you did, because the details they put into this. And when, Mitz was, going through, beating up Superman, he was going through the different rogues gallery saying, say my name. I'll be honest, I never thought him until we got to, when he started saying, say my name. That was the thing that I was like, so basically right around the time Clark figured it out is when I figured it out. The only person, because for me, the only person who has any significance on the name is because of the whole back clipple skims or whatever, however it's actually said backwards. But, it's so that was something that I thought was kind of cool that, you're right along there and you're figuring it along with Clark, but just the background detail of the candy and the apartment basically exploding with, you see little silverware and plates and candy flying and just completely, coming apart at the seams and just transforming into whatever this crazy world of Purple Hat. I'm going to go with Purple Hat from now on because I can't say his dang name. But going through just these different panels of these different, rogues gallery, and as Clark figures it out, that was a really great way to say, like, you know what, this is kind of neat. That, I loved how they told us that by the end of issue 2 is when we're finding out who it is. We still don't know really why, but again, I loved how they paced this. I loved how they're just boom, 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 just building up to that big ending. And it was this for me, these scenes of going from the one villain to the other villain to the other villain, art-wise, just looking at them, not even reading the words, are just absolutely wonderful. And this is one of those things where, like, man, these would make a great series on a wall, in a poster style. Yes. Boom, 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 all of them right in a row with each other.
So much Superman history unfolding. I really liked seeing that. That went through just the history of this Superman until you got to the double page spread and all that. It really, you know what it is? It's really, really good fun. Then that ending, the cliffhanger of this issue where Lois doesn't remember because it's starting to happen to her was such a piece where I don't know if you were reading this the same way I was. I'm like, oh no, they aren't going to do this, are they? I was afraid when I saw the new 52 versions that there was a potential for it to head that way. Briefly. It was very brief for me, but there was a part of me that was like, oh, I hope they don't, because I like Mom and Dad, and I want them to be Mom and Dad.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I wasn't worried about losing this Lois and Clark for some reason. I had all those other theories of different ways they could have played this out, but for me, it was just like, as this was playing out, I'm like, you know what? We're getting the big blue is going to be the big blue. I didn't know they were going to completely fold everything in and explain everything and make it, fix this universe's continuity. But I knew these two weren't going anywhere. I knew Jonathan wasn't going anywhere. I knew they were safe. It was one of those kind of, when there's a lot of, with some of the characters, when they're in a dire situation, you always know, okay, Superman and Batman, they're going to be fine. Wonder Woman, she's going to be fine. These are big characters. These are big names. They're not going to get rid of them, unless there's a big epic story called Death of So-and-so. Then they're not just going to throw this out there. They're not just going to get rid of it. So I wasn't too worried about, it never really dawned on me that they were going to whitewash, get rid of these people, but again, I loved how the story played out because, you get, to understand this. You get to see this play out. And then when Lois is like, John who? I'm like, ooh, mix, the old Purple Hat's doing his thing here. And that was the first thing I thought of because I was like, okay, Mix is making his play here. What's he going to do? How's he going to do it? I was kind of excited for just what the game was going to be. And then, of course, going on, the second half of the 975, you had that, Paul Dini story, the man in the purple hat, and I really liked, again, this was a great way to have, John interact with, Mix and have him explain why he's doing what he's doing. Again, it's showing this character, he's not just this evil monster who wants to conquer the world. This is the game he plays with Superman. This is who he is. And when Supe didn't show up to save him, he got a little mad, It's like, we had a deal here. We had an understanding. I show up, we play around a little bit, then I leave, then I come back, and when I got captured, you didn't help. What the heck? And I get here and I find out you got a wife and a kid. You didn't tell me about your kid. Why didn't you tell me about your kid? I'm your friend, And I love just that logic, the illogical logic of Purple Hat here that, this was one of those where it really needed a cool, solid explanation of why he's doing it. What's his motivation? And gets you, again, backing the little imp saying, he's not a bad guy. Maybe they can work this out. And I liked even Jonathan trying to work with him and, trying to, again, lessons he's learned from his father and his mother. It's not just about punching people in the face. Can you talk your way out of it? Can you talk the situation? Can you understand the person? I loved seeing that in him. I loved seeing the young hero get born.
One of the things that I really enjoyed about his whole storyline was the way they explained it. That he comes back after a certain amount of days. But that's relative because those are that amount of days from his perspective. Because he's coming from the fourth dimension, that doesn't mean that it's actually that amount of days in our time. Yeah. So Superman really doesn't know when he's going to appear. So this agreement that he has with him is a genuine agreement because he's Superman. We know Superman is going to agree with it. And he's going to stick to his word because that's what Superman does, right? And I like that about him. But got to defend the big blue. You never know when this dude's going to pop up. Yeah. And I really have enjoyed that justification in this and why he's angry. And for him, it was an eternity. But for Superman, it wasn't. This isn't even really, at least yet, the same Superman.
Well, it again, you love, it's characters that can tear down the fourth wall without there being any issue or any problem with it. And I loved how he makes reference to the animated series, to the Lego series, to all the different iterations and incarnations of their friendship, the cartoon show. It was like, again, it was that really cool just moments of him. He's one of those villains that I never really, I don't have any recollection of him going, man, that was a really great Mixel Picklick story. That was awesome. I'm glad I read that. I never really had those kind of moments. He was always that one-off character for me, or the character in the cartoon or the animated series and whatnot. I never really said, this guy's awesome. This, I gotta admit, this story goes, man, that guy's pretty cool. I don't want him to be a gone. I want him to come back. I want to see what he does. He's got me interested. And I do like how he quote unquote escaped by saying the name backwards. But not only did he have to say his name backwards, he had to say it over and over and over and over and over multiple times before he was finally able to get out. So again, it's showing the power levels that if that one single fifth dimension spell doesn't get him out, he had to hit multiple incantations, multiple, firings to get out. Again, that's showing what kind of power levels we're dealing with. We already know it's really massive because they changed the whole universe, but that really kind of gives you a good indication. I was very happy with that.
So Lois and Clark, in the next issue of Superman, are now on the hunt, and really Clark at this point is the only one still hunting for the kid. Lois is questioning everything. She's like, we're not a couple. We're not married. You're talking nonsense. We have a kid. What? So Clark has got to protect her while at the same time still searching for his son, because you can't leave Lois alone now because she's a mess, because of the fact that her memory's been erased. And this has got to be a scary type of thing for a father now, because Superman's, again, dealing with magic. Now his co-pilot, which was Lois on this, is gone. He's got to be wondering, what happens if my memory goes? Fighting which Superman does. Superman doesn't quit. He doesn't surrender. I could see a lesser person surrendering to this, because now you've lost your best friend, your confidant, your Butch and Sundance, for lack of Bonnie and Clyde, however you want to look at it. The two of them teamed up together to go and search for the kid. They don't have those partners anymore. It's an interesting sort of storyline, and it makes me respect him again for the same reason. Superman just keeps going. This is what Superman does, right? It's why we like him. I'm really loving that part of this storyline and how it unfolded, seeing that relationship take place. I think it's something in the New 52 version I was missing. And let me clarify this. When I'm comparing the New 52 version of this, I'm finding that I'm enjoying this more now because it's my old friends come back again, right? But I don't want to seem like I'm trashing the New 52 books, because I was digging that Superman, I was digging that Lois. So I want to clarify what they were doing was a relaunch. They relaunched those characters, and I was really enjoying the progression of their storyline. So I'm not going to backpedal and pretend I wasn't, but then you're given this, where now you're seeing, but my friends are back. They have a kid, and I like the kid, and I love the marriage. You brought them back. I was content if they were going to keep the New 52 version and this running the way that they seemed to be at that time. When they made this our Superman, our old guy, I'm like, oh man, this is sweet. Now he's going to be the, head Superman again, the way we've all known and love him. It was like bringing your best friend back and being able to ride along with him again. It did make me realize that there's some basic tenets to what I love about Superman that we're missing, that this is put into play. And that relationship with Lois, because of the fact that she knows the secret, they love each other, and they work together as a team. Lois is so much stronger in that role than she was when she didn't know. Because she knows him in and out of the costume, she has the ability to be an agent to help him in both roles. And we see how strong Lois Lane is by her ability to help him in both roles. We've seen it at Superman, I think it's been a capstone book for this, during the dealings with Batman and Wonder Woman, where she pops out every so often and basically issues a slap to everybody in her own Lois way of, reality, saying, hey, let's get out of the shadows and come back into reality, because this is a farm, and this is what we do here. I love those type of things when they happen. And that's so vintage Lois Lane. I think it's why progression is so good with these characters, because they grow and evolve. And when they grow and evolve, they become something stronger. Sometimes we reserve that for our villains. Our villains tend to evolve and change, where we seem to pigeonhole our heroes and not let them do the same thing. I think it's one of the things that they've done in the New 52, with, I would argue, Batman's done some great evolution. You know, where we see him kind of softer now, and I'm cautious saying that, but more strategic. You know, so he's still the brooding Batman, that type of thing, but yet we've seen much more vocal interactions with the Bat family and Batwoman and Alfred, and I think we're getting to know him in a way that we didn't before. That makes him stronger, and seeing him as a strategist in multiple titles, including his own, like Detective Comics, for example, or even Batman with the I Am Bane storyline. You know, you got to see the strategist again working through that, his relationship with Catwoman, great example. These are characters they're letting evolve and grow. Wonder Woman, I think, is doing the same thing in her title. This evolution is something that's important to me. I'm sorry, I know you're chomping at the bit to say something, and I'm...
Well, it's the concept of family.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm glad you went that way, because, you know, for both Batman and Superman, we've talked, you know, you say Bat family, Superman family, and you're talking about the you know, a lot of times you're talking about just the group of the booking, the books themselves. But in this universe, you know, since the New 52, they're doing a great job with developing the family concept. For, you know, on Bat's side, it's all his different agencies, Alfred, Jim Gordon, Gotham City itself. Every time we talk Batman, I always say how Gotham is a character. They're doing a great job with this, that overall, you know, expanding who Batman trusts, who he deals with, how he deals with them, bringing them into the fold, letting them grow, letting the characters develop. Same thing on Superman's side. Superman in the costume, out of the costume's an outstanding person. Lois Lane, right there by his side, supporting him, showing why this man with godlike powers would love this simple mortal woman, why she is his partner, why she is his equal, even though she's nowhere near on the power levels, but there's still something about her inner strength, her character, her core, who she is. And then Jonathan, as I said, this really is the growth of the hero. You know, last issue, you know, he's sitting there talking to, you know, Mitz, trying to, you know, talk him down, trying to explain, hey, you know, maybe my dad, you know, always described you as a kid. Maybe he thought you grew up. That's why he didn't come looking for you. He just figured you moved on, you know, and he's trying to reason with him, trying to understand, trying to figure out a way he can, you know, get past Mix and make his own escape, not just sit there, cower, and, oh, I got to get out of here. No, he's doing the hero thing, and I love him as Superboy. Now, I love Connor Kent. I still love that character, still wish some way they could bring him back, because he's always going to be Superboy. You know, call him something else, but Jonathan Samuel Kent is Superboy for me now. This right here, this is my Superboy. And especially issue 19, you really see the kid gut check. You really see him come around, and you see him step up throughout this whole Superman Reborn story, where it's, you know, he goes from the moment of being that scared kid, very natural, he's disappearing, you know, to the, you know, educated, okay, let's see if we can figure this out, to this, you know, kid who's going to start kicking some butt because he is the son of Superman. He is Superboy. And I love these moments with him where we really see him step up his game, him come to the support and aid of his father and mother. Those were those kind of moments where I was like, yes, yes, yes. I'm fist pumping in the air. I was excited. Again, the super family, this Superman family is absolutely wonderful. And I'm just so thrilled with what we're getting out of this.
Yeah, it's funny how you're mentioning him being your Superboy. You know, it's funny how the Superman family is sort of like the Batman family. I don't want to say becoming like the Batman family, but I do look at, like, they could bring Connor back in so many different ways, and it would work for me. I think we'd most see him on a team book, kind of like what happened with Wally, versus seeing him in these pages. I think we'd see him in these pages in the fact that there would be some interaction because he's Superman's clone. But I would want to see, I guess I'd want to see the Connor, if we're going to do it, the Connor from before the New 52.
Yeah.
Because they never seem to, I'm going to say they never seem to get him right in the New 52. Only because of the fact that the character kept fizzling. You know what I mean? But I was enjoying the stories with him in the New 52. But it didn't gain any traction. You know, it didn't go where it could have potentially gone. So I say that as enjoying what the attempts they made with him. But like any character where, you know, you might have been enjoying reading it, but it fizzled. It fizzled for a reason. I mean, and whatever it was, the sales numbers weren't right, or they just went a different story direction. It's fine. I would love to see some way for that character to reappear again. And I would like it to be the version before. And I don't know, it's interesting because Wonder Girl's, another character that, they've seemed to have had trouble with since the New 52 started. And that's another character that was a favorite of mine when we get into Teen Titans and things. It's interesting how it's a character who, her relationship with Connor, I think was something that evolved over time in the previous universe. Those are hard to replicate. I think you almost have to go, what they've done with Tim Drake and Stephanie Brown in Detective Comics is how you do it.
Yeah.
Because, man, in a very short period of time, think about the number of issues in Detective Comics that they had to recreate that.
Yeah. Well,
and they did it.
That's kind of the interesting thing with this whole concept of just, this changing, with the Superman and Lois going back to the old universe, this Superman Reborn whole storyline itself. There's certain characters where I'm like, Connor. Of course, yeah, I'd love to bring back the Connor. And actually, you mentioned Cassie. That'd be kind of neat bringing those two characters from that universe back here just because I love those characters so much. But this version of Tim Drake is awesome. I don't know if I would want them to get rid of him. Same thing with this Batman. This Bruce Wayne is a really great character. Flash stories have been outstanding. It's the whole, do you just pick, is it only going to be Superman that gets reborn because he's the only one that his character came back? Do they try to whitewash everybody? Do they do a massive universal reboot? And it's one of those things I don't know. I personally don't think I would want to see that. But again, if that kind of stuff were to happen, in the story and it plays out well, I'd be okay with it because if the story was if they could come up with a well-crafted story like they did with Superman Reborn, I would have no issue with it because this is a great story. But there's a lot of characters out there that I don't want them to change just because the characters right now are so cool. I'm like, we don't need to change it. Tim Drake is a different person, but he's still just as cool to me as the New 52, the New 52 as well as as the old universe.
Jim, you're forgetting though. Look back at Detective Comics where they issued, and boy, I'm sorry for people listening. If you haven't read the Detective Comics issue, we're going to go a little spoiler on this if you're not reading Detective and you really don't want us to spoil this, but we kind of got to talk about this. Here's the thing though. Why did they take Tim Drake? Because he was reconnecting elements that should not be reconnected. These are the same people.
Yes, these are the same people, and I'm agreeing. I'm agreeing with you that our universe is the old universe.
Right.
It's just been manipulated. I 100% agree with that. But this universe is the same people, but they're in their mind and in their experiences and their memories, they're somebody different. So if your memories and in your mind, what you think you've experienced has changed you as a person, you're really a different person.
Sure.
You're the same person. So I'm saying I want, for some of these characters,
yes,
the person they are now, I want them to stay that way. I don't want them to go back because I'm like, you know what? We don't need to change the character. That character is just cool.
Yes. I agree with you. I think we're gonna see more than anything else is people discovering, maybe having memories that they didn't have before come back.
Right.
Like
in Titans,
yes,
where they're starting to have memories. I think we're going to see that as well.
Right, but I want them to continue moving forward in the directions they are. Flash is a great example of that. Green Arrow. Green Arrow's phenomenal now. I mean, Green Arrow's one of my favorite titles right now. It's a title I think that has been since the New 52 started. Again, another one where I've enjoyed great runs on Green Arrow, but they seem to keep rebooting the character over and over again. This version we got right now, please, if you're thinking of rebooting him on any level, come to my house. I will explain to you for hours why you should not do such a thing. I will take you through every issue of the current run, and I will tell you page by page what I love about it, why this is who Green Arrow is, and why you should not touch this. Leave the creative team alone. They know what they're doing. Let them keep moving forward. Because Green Arrow is like making me drool. Flash is another title. I agree with you 100%. Man, is that book great right now. So I think you're going to see in certain cases, I think certain books maybe do need the Superman Reborn treatment. You know how that went? But Batman doesn't need it. Batman will be Batman. I'm going to make a strong argument. How different is Batman actually than Batman before all this? I don't know that he really is. I think though, here's the thing though. Hasn't Tim Drake already gotten the Reborn treatment? Can we make that argument?
Maybe. See, that's the thing. I don't know if he has memories from the previous universe.
I don't mean that. I don't mean that. I guess what I'm saying is it's more of what you're saying. I think we've put back in place the elements of Tim Drake that we know and love, right? If you look back at the beginning of the New 52, would you make the argument that right now the Tim Drake that we saw in the most recent Detective Comics run was the most like the previous universe Tim Drake?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a distinct, I think, here's the thing, I liked him in Titans, I liked his run in Teen Titans, but I think we were, for the longest time, saying we're starting to reconnect with him as our Tim Drake, that type of thing. Whereas in Detective Comics, from issue 1 of that, straight on through, there was no doubt in my mind, that is everything that I love about Tim Drake. That was Tim Drake. The Stephanie Brown relationship, in a very short period of time, they made me believe that those two had this deep, loving, spoiler, Robin, whatever to call him, was our Tim Drake. He was back again. I mean, it felt like so natural. I didn't care about how much of their memories that they had. Cassie Kane, right? Call her orphan. Call her late for dinner. I don't know what you want to call her. That is what I love about that character. Everything they were doing with her. That's kind of more what Reborn or Rebirth is to me, than it having to be that every single character remembers everything from the past. I like the connection, like what they're doing with Superman and Wally West, love it. Do I at some point in a geeky sense want Batman to remember the fact that Superman's been his buddy for like ever? Yeah, because I like that relationship. I like that trust between them. Do I care if they do it? No, because I don't know what's going on in the pages of Superman with these two, how they're becoming friends. I like just as much. So I don't know what they're going to do. It'd be fine if they continue this kind of building a relationship that at some point in time Batman goes, hey, Clark, I remember.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like, I don't know. I'd geek out at that. I would. I don't know that they have to do it, though. It doesn't matter to me. I don't want to see the whole universe folded back because I think they've modernized certain elements of the DC universe that needed to be modernized. While at the same time, they're recognized that maybe they went too far. They made certain things unrecognizable, which was a danger. So now what they're doing with Rebirth is taking a look at these titles and going, okay, where do we screw up? I think Green Arrow is a great, if you want to take a title, Green Arrow is a great title. That's a great example of taking a look and going, okay, this character, we're progressing him forward and making him modern, but at the same time, we forgot who Green Arrow is.
Yeah.
And we've done, it's been such a jump around of who this new Green Arrow is. Why don't we go back to the starting board? Who would Green Arrow be today? If we take everything that people loved about this character and plop him in, who would he be today? And I love that in the comics, I don't feel like I'm watching the TV show. Yeah, they brought in elements of the TV show, but it's really the comic book Ollie. The one that you and I loved from the Team Arrow days, back when we used to talk about on the show how much we loved Team Arrow. We were big fans of the Winnick run, just as an example. Many runs we were fans of, but the Winnick run was one that we talked extensively on the show about our enjoyment of, right? So we loved the Team Arrow concept then. I think this is that guy today. I don't need him to remember those years. Doesn't. Right. If he does, and that's where they're going with this, cool. But to your point, I want the progression of who he is now as a part of that. I think it's going to be some hybrid. I think some characters you remember, some characters are not. I think it's going to fold back in the way that this does. Here's the thing, if you look at the, we're going to get to the issues talking about how this folded back in, but if you look at the way this folded back in, it's modern still though. So it's not just like they blatantly folded it back in and now it's the Daily Planet of old. No, it's not. It's the modern Daily Planet. I think we're going to see that more in these Aftermath issues, what that looks like. Because Clark's memories aren't the 100% the old memories, right? Because the parents died, right? Did they change how the parents have died? Did we see that yet?
Which parents?
The Kents.
The Kents? Yeah.
I'm saying though, well, let's talk about when we get to that issue. Yeah. Because I really want to explore that again because that was a major history change in this, the way the Kents died. So I'd like to see how did they make any emphasis on how they handled that? I don't remember now. Because so much of it was focused on Krypton that I think we're going to have to take a look at that when we get there. Let's talk further. I think we got some further discussion to go. But I'm talking about folding it in. Let's take about this character in general. How did they fold him back in and what does it look like? Because we've got two different books that handle it in two different ways. I want to talk more about this. I'm watching the Magic piece where you mentioned John being your Superboy. And I could not agree more. This kid's sense of wonder and excitement makes me feel like a kid again. Because being a superhero should be fun, right? John makes it fun. And I love Super Sons being him and Damian because there's such a sharp contrast of that John really is just this nice kid. I'm enjoying the exploration of him, what his power sets are. I know there's a big storyline. We're going to talk about the Superman storyline that's going on with him now. That's super cool, exploring the actual nature of his powers and what his limits actually are or aren't. And I'm interested and excited about that. This is a kid in a very short period of time that has made me not forget, but very happy to say that he's Superboy. Want to follow him as the true Superboy. I can't help but when we're going through this storyline, seeing him try to get his family back together again. It's such an interesting storyline. I'm looking at this double page spread right now of the game board, and it's so evilly Mixus-Pitlick, where you see various different iterations of the Clark Kent Lois Lane storyline, where the death of Superman's over there. You see, basically depending on which way the game goes, which elements of their history are part of the present day. I think this is so metaphorical of what's been happening with these characters in the comics. They've been played with by Dr. Manhattan and Ozymandias. Their histories have been played with. Certain elements have been put in. They've been put in almost like a test tube. The Earth right now in the comics is a test tube put together by Ozymandias and Dr. Manhattan. We're seeing more and more awareness of the fact that there's something out there. What happens when Superman, Batman, and Flash get together on this? You know what I mean? When the team starts to grow and they start to figure it out, or when Bruce realizes that Tim's alive.
Yeah, it's what we're talking about with this universe being so interconnected, and we have this one, and you can't say it's minor, but you have one piece of the puzzle right here with Clark. Where he's actually working towards bringing back, correcting the universe, putting it back in alignment, however you want to word it, undo the whammy that was put on them, however you want to phrase it, or, whatever you want to choose. And it's one of those things where each piece of this puzzle is going to have a different reaction to it. With Batman and Flash starting to see the pieces, because Batman's the great detective, Flash is the Flash with all his craziness that he deals with Wally, in the mix, being from the other universe coming over, and there's all these different pieces of this one giant puzzle that's got to get put together. And one of the things that I, again, loved about this was throughout this story, you keep seeing these heroes, whether it's New 52, Old 52, any other versions of them. You're seeing the character who is at their core. Because, this Superman is our Superman. But to be honest, the New 52 Superman was cool too. We have talked about Green Arrow, where this version of the Green Arrow is starting to get that groove that we really, really loved from the past. But it's not just like a quick flip the switch and change his character. They're naturally developing that character, bringing out his characteristics that we love. Like, this is who the Green Arrow is. They're bringing that out, and it's kind of this great what's next kind of story, where it's not just what's next in these characters, what's next in the universe, what's next in these interactions. With you, I want to see that moment where Bruce and Clark, Bruce specifically, recognizes that this is the guy who's always been my friend. This is the person who's always had my back, and I've got his. I want to have that moment. We're seeing the friendship between these two develop. And right now, Batman, I think, does have Superman's back, but there is some uneasiness. And like we're seeing with Wonder Woman, where she's got, this Superman's back, because she knows this is Superman. He's got my back. But is it that same level of friendship? Is it that same level of trust that we saw in the next universe? It's not there yet, but it's getting there. And I loved how just the natural power of family, of love, of what is, those really cool, great things that are what a family's supposed to be, is what's bringing this super family back together again. And it's not just Superman punching or tricking Mixel to say his name backwards. It is actually the family itself, the strength of that family, bringing it back together. And I thought that for me is the best part about this story.
Yeah, I love the bit. I'm watching the bit where they're like hanging from candy canes and Superman's starting to forget. And this kid's watching this unfold. in a reaction of a kid, you get to see his strength, because I admire this kid for how strong he is, but he feels like a kid too. Like, there's a nice balance of, he's this nice, well-developed, in this day and age where, you parenting, I think, is something that gets talked about a lot nowadays, right? And he feels like a modern kid. Like, I would have a kid like him in my class. There's something about seeing this modern kid who has the vulnerabilities that a kid would have, but yet you also see this is a kid who was raised by two good parents, who also has the strength and emotional balance of a kid who was raised by two really good parents inside the crazy world that is Superman. And I really love this kid just saying, my name's Jonathan Samuel Kent. I'm your son. And he blurts out, and that red energy blurts out. And that's how we get to see the New 52, Superman and Lois Lane, I should say, pop up on the scene. I love the ending there. Now, when I said earlier that I saw, there was that part of me that was worried that these two were going to become, come back, and that was how he was going to have them and all that. In the context of the story, I was being captivated by the story and pulled in. I wasn't like sitting here like stewing over it all the time or anything like that. I don't want to make it seem like more than it was. I think you get pulled into a story and really enjoy the roller coaster ride they're taking you on, and you start thinking of possibilities, and it was like that. Versus, I wasn't writing letters to DC saying, what are you doing? I wasn't in that place. I was enjoying the story. And that's one of the things I could probably say. This is a 4-parter. It cooked. Like, I really couldn't wait till the next issue of it. There was not a wasted pace. I think there was strong character development of all the characters involved. There was a real sense of danger. And I think that's important in the storyline, that you get pulled into the point where you're like, well, okay, now what? I really enjoyed them bringing back the red-blue part of the Superman mythos and wondering what was going to be the dominant personalities. Because I think that's more of what it was it going to be the old Superman and old Lois, or the new Superman Lois, or an amalgamation of them that had a mixture of memories? And I think we're learning in the aftermath issues what's actually happening here. I think there is some amalgamation going on with a heavy lean towards the old versions. It's going to be interesting when we talk about those issues to see because I think we're still learning at this point. And I think that's the sense of progression that I'm getting from all of this.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And it's when again, I loved how we're wrapping this up. Again, it's, just again, the way we've talked about pacing throughout this, but it's just the way this is building and building. That great ending with bam, Deja New 52 to Jonathan, like, yeah, you did it, Dad, you freed me. Us, Mom, we're all back together. Yeah, and Mix is just like, maybe not, and that for me was just that great moment of, oh boy, story, because I knew eventually they would get together. I knew that they would work it out. I knew he would remember who his son is, who his wife is, and all that. I knew there was going to be a happy ending. I wasn't worried about it, but I was wondering how the process was going to go. How was it going to be? Was it going to be, again, was it going to be tricking Mix? Was it going to be something else? How was this going to get played out? And I so loved the fact that it was John who pretty much saved the day. You could very easily argue it was Jonathan Kent and his family, he was the one who pulled in and actually saved the day on this. And I love the fact that that's how this played, but it's not even just that simple. It's the family itself. It's that natural family energy. It's that love. It's whatever. It's the whatnot of the family unit that makes them so super. That's what saved the day. It was, who they are. And you see, again, Jonathan is his father and his mother's son. There's parts of him that each one, you can see their personality in him. You can see that hero. You can see that strength of character. You can see just that awesomeness that is, if you're going to have the last name Kent, you better have that awesomeness. And I loved how this whole thing played out. Again, this was a great story, a great ending, but also a great beginning of something.
I like that. You got to admit, I fixed that secret identity problem you had, but you don't appreciate it. I so heard voices in this one, where I started hearing the characters have some form of, you talk about it a lot on the show, and I don't do that very often, but this one I did. Mixus Pitlick in particular. You can't help but assign a voice to that little imp. I really enjoyed the sense of power, because sometimes with him, he almost seems like this very small, insignificant creature that has magical powers, but is more Batmite-like, if that makes sense. In this, I really got a sense of crazy strong power, because there were times where he was gigantic and powerful and crazed looking. And I can see where Superman's like, I gotta keep this guy busy, because he is such a powerful creature. I know he's gonna keep coming back. It also gives you a sense with that crazy that he's going through, though, of what was done to him. I want to feel like this guy was in prison. It really did traumatize him. And we're seeing that. And is that going to play out in later, you know how Joker's been kind of revamped?
Yeah.
Is the Mixus Pitlick revamp going to play out later with him as well? Because it's a character that, you know, you've done so many stories with the character, you want to give a sense of something new. This felt very new. Completely new to me. And I really liked the fact that it felt like the same character from the past, but yet time has passed, circumstances being locked up, which is something he hates. You know, he wants to control things and be out there. He hates being trapped in his own dimension. So when Superman keeps sending him back, it annoys him to tears. So imagine this guy being locked up in a prison of sorts. It really felt like that in this issue. And in this storyline, I should say this whole storyline in general.
We're definitely going to get a different version of Mix, you know, in the future. We're definitely going to see that. I think we're going to continue seeing this edge to him.
Yeah, I like the
because, you know, and I like that. Again, as I said at the beginning of the episode, I said, yeah, I never really had a story where I could say this is a great Mix story. I can right now. We have a great Mix story. I really do love, you know, the little purple hat now. And I wanna see him come back. I wanna see how he acts, you know. I wanna see him and Jonathan, you know, throw down, you know, just because, you know, we now have this kind of, it's not just Superman that's, you know, going to be dealing with him. It's going to be Superboy. And you think about it, if Superboy ends up dealing with Mix, what happens if it happens to be a time when Damian's around?
Yes. I was just gonna, when I was interrupting you, and I apologize for doing it, that's exactly where I was going. I was gonna be like, wouldn't this be great in Super Sons?
Oh God, I want to see that so bad.
I do too. I mean, that's fun. That's where you start taking a look at a storyline leads to future possibilities that are super cool. And I totally agree with you on this. This has been, it's a really great arc. I didn't know where it was going to go. Obviously, I knew it was going to finally address, there were two Supermen. There's this extra Clark Kent. How all this is going to get resolved. I'm glad they waited. I'm glad that they established those characters, took them through the hoops, you know, that they're the rigmarole they were going to put them through. Then all of a sudden left us in a place where, okay, now do you want to know what's really going on? That really stuck for me on this one. So it does leave me some questions though about Convergence, right? Because they were trapped there in Convergence. So I'm confused now because they were brought back from Convergence to here. So because they were pulled to Convergence, does that mean only the red energy moved on to the New 52?
I don't know.
Were they split off for Convergence in the New 52? Because they were the holdovers from the previous. I'm confused.
Well, yeah, and it's interesting because there's something I just really noticed right now.
What?
And I'm kicking myself for not noticing this. Okay, after we go through the whole, the big blue globes that, you know, Jonathan talks him into, hey, you gotta trust me on this, you know, this is what it is, and able to pull into the parents and they're able to remember and completely, and we have that great merging of the energy and all that stuff that's going on. We have that person who's throwing the comments out. I didn't think it was possible that Superman, his wife and son, could repair what was broken. I'm not the only one. He didn't think Superman could do it either. I always was thinking those green blocks of inner dialogue was our mysterious person, you know, our Ozymandias. But there's the guy in the green cloak who has the Sith, and then this voice that's talking as well. They're two different people. Every time I saw that, I was always thinking it was him. They're two different people. So is one Dr. Manhattan and one's Ozzy?
I think the guy with the Skype is the one talking.
I don't think it does. I don't think it is.
I disagree with you. I think the person he's talking about is Dr. Manhattan. I think he's talking about Dr. Manhattan.
Okay. He could maybe be talking about Manhattan as well.
Wait, let me say that.
Yeah.
I'm making an assumption from
Right.
reading this that I was taking it that the green block is in fact him, the guy with the scythe.
Okay.
Because if you look at the way the rest of the issue goes, that would tend to imply that.
Yes. And I was always thinking that, but just the way...
Because remember, he's the one analyzing the pictures on the last page. Look at the last page of that issue. He's the one analyzing the pictures and talking, and yet questions remain. And then he goes into his questions. Is it over, or is there more? Considering what's been set in motion. So he's actually doing the dialogue, then it shifts to the green dialogue. That's him talking through his questions.
Okay, yeah, so that is him. Okay. And then and in the end there, you know, the force has been sent. Is it Superman who has the final say or him?
Him would be Dr. Manhattan.
So that's the him. And of course they're looking at Mars, which, you know, again is implying Dr. Manhattan.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because just this second ago I was like thinking, wait, am I misreading this? But I wasn't misreading it all along. And that's got to be Ozzy because, you know, you look at it, it's the OZ, you know, it's got to be him. But again, is he a good guy or is he a bad guy? You know, is he the grand puppet master or is he just someone who's working behind the scenes? I don't know.
Wow.
I think that for me is the great on the mystery.
I don't know. It honestly, this feels like it's building, like it's another crisis. I want to like be careful with that label because I'd be fine if that's something that they create as a brand. Here's the thing: Crisis is always DC's big, you know, shakeup and all that. Does this need to be a crisis? No. I hope, you know, I'd be fine if they give it a different name. I would be curious to see the Batman event that's coming this summer that's going to lead to something else. I guess one of the reasons why I don't necessarily need this to be a crisis is because does this need to be a multiversal event? I don't know that it does because it should be our world versus what's been done to it.
Right. And again, you think about it, how much dramatically this changes it because this takes out conversions out of the equation for Superman. Because now in this universe, she gave birth to the kid in this universe at the Fortress of Solitude, you know, and it's showing them, them getting married in this universe and everything. And everything played out here and the now.
Except that's what her memory's been pushed to say.
Right.
Here's the thing. Did Superman win out or him? Did he shift those memories so he fits in? I don't know. I think there's still a story to tell here.
Oh God, yeah. And I think that's the best part of a really cool story that has beginning, middle, end, and then it lays down the line for the future. You know, we have an ending. We have a great ending here, yes. But there's still more story to be told. And I love that. And there's still more mystery to be told. You know, we still don't know, you know, where Ozzy stands. We don't know where Dr. Manhattan stands. We don't know where, you know, this universe, how it's going to play out, how people are going to remember, how people are going to interact, what's going to happen. You know, there's still a lot of mystery left. I think that for me is the part I'm thrilled and excited for, that I just got a great story arc. I just got a great Superman. I got a great, you know, Superboy, and I got a great Lois Lane story that I absolutely was like hoorahing the entire time. And it's still setting the groundwork for the next one. We're still not done yet. We got more coming down the line. And I'm like, yes, this is how you do it.
I'm back, we're back, and everything's going to be fine. One of my favorite pages, because I really love the current Superman costume. I think it's such a reminiscence of the classic with a modern flair. Seeing the whole family there together in that sequence just looked great, but I thought it was just a great shot of Superman himself.
Well, in the family, that final jump, where you want to see me leap a couple of tall buildings in a single bound, you save the day, lead the way, Superboy. I love that image right there. That right there, that's kind of like the same as those great Batman images where they're swinging, you know, and, you know, a lot of times when you capture, you know, the Bat family swinging and, you know, Bruce is Bruce, but you'll have, you know, one of the Robins will be, have that cool grin on their face right there. That is, for me, has that great look to it. And I'm like, yeah, that's awesome.
Now, what I love is in his pictures, he shows the two different variations of Superman costumes and how they amalgamated together.
Yeah.
That was something I didn't notice on my first read-through. I didn't notice that Superman's costume, when he came out, was actually not the one that he'd been wearing since he took over. It was, the red boots are back, the belt's a little different. There's an amalgamation and a change there. I really like the slight alterations that they made to kind of make it feel more classic now.
Yeah.
The red boots, I like them back. I do. I like the red boots back.
I like the red boots, and, the belt there with the red accent on the belt now. Again, he's not wearing the underwear on the outside because that's, people don't wear that, so, and even like Jonathan's outfit.
Wait. Here's what I love the way you said that. You're like, well, he's not wearing the red underwear on the outside because, well, people don't wear it that way. I love that you're saying it in a way where it's like people did at one point.
Well, they did in the oldie days.
Well, back in the
circus performers and the costumes.
Back in the 20s, people wore their underwear on the outside all the time. It was a thing. It was a fashion statement. Nowadays, modern days, who wears their underwear on the outside like they did back in the old days? It's like, many of you go watch those old black and white movies, you're going to see that everybody in the doggone film is wearing their underwear on the outside, except for the person who isn't that they're making fun of. It's like, your underwear's in your pants. What's the matter with you? I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. Because just the way you said that so matter-of-factly, like everybody was wearing them on the outside. You're saying that the superhero community as a large has abandoned the idea of underwear on the outside. Although it could be argued that only Batman and Superman were the ones doing it. But
no, Aquaman had his on the outside.
Where?
Aquaman used to always. Didn't he have the orange trunks?
He had the green pants.
Are you sure? Because I always remember him with orange trunks.
No, he had the orange shirt.
Yeah.
He didn't have orange trunks.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, yeah. You know what I mean. I'm just going to go with that. Because I was going to make a point about John's costume looks a little different. If you look at how his Superboy costume now is a little bit different. He still gave us the ripped jeans and all that, but just the way the top is, that's kind of, or I'm remembering things differently, but he looks a little different as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I wonder if it's a different artist interpretation or if that's really... You're right, it's different.
Yeah, I don't know.
I like it.
Hey, I'm agreeing with you. I'm hoping this is the costume. I like that. That looks cool.
I didn't notice. I know what you're talking about now, though. You're talking about the way it's almost like
yeah.
You know what it's like? The one from what was that one? 1 Million, the 1 Million storyline. It looks kind of like that's Superman's cape.
Oh yeah. Okay.
That the 1 million future Superman. And I'm saying I quite like that. It's a good look for this Superboy. I didn't notice that before. Good catch. Yeah, I don't know if that's a thing or just an artistic interpretation, but I like it. If it's a thing, I'm in. Yeah, this is good. So actually, okay, so now that we're caught up, to the present issues, you want to talk about Superman first, because that was the first one that was released. Let's talk about, the most recent Superman issue, which was Superman number 20. And that's the beginning of this Storm is Coming, the Black Dawn Part 1 storyline. You know what I'm really loving? And it is making me feel like each of the individual titles are having their own events. We're seeing more and more of the DC books having these labels at the top relating to whatever the storyline that's contained within. It really does make me feel like these are arcs, these interesting arcs that are created. I don't know if that's going to be a continued, we're going to see these more and more books. But I do like it. I think it's a way that makes me get excited for what's being contained within.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting. It's good to mix that up every so often, and then it opens up right on the farm.
Well, right on the Kent farm.
Right.
In Hamilton County. And that was something I was like, yes! Yeah, I love seeing the fact that they're now called Kents. They're not the Smith family anymore. It's the Kent family. And again, that was something that for me I was like very happy that they, that they're bringing that back into it. And
was it the Smith family before or the Clark family?
What?
Was it the Smith family before or the Clark family?
The Smith family, yeah. Sorry.
No, was it the Smith family or the Clark family? I thought they were the Clark family.
I thought they were the Smiths.
Huh. Was it Clark and Lois Smith?
Yeah, I thought so.
Maybe. Okay. You may be right on that one. I'm really, the farm thing is that made me interested right away. Now that the Kent family was back and we're seeing them as the Kents, that was a piece I needed back. It was funny how, like, you take basic tenets away, and you know these are those people, but then they got their name back. It's kind of like when, the many times that Batman's had somebody assume the mantle, then he assumes the mantle again. You're kind of like, I was into the previous guy, but man, when Bruce puts it back on, you're like, hoorah!
Yeah.
You know, I think this is the same thing for me. This was a hoorah moment. Cause Clark Kent to me is just as an important part of the Superman being Superman as I wouldn't have wanted there to be an ongoing Clark Kent as Superman flies around. I think he needs both for the many reasons that we've seen it. And I'm glad to see that our Clark Kent is Clark Kent again. This small town moment though, we see Superboy doing the up and away. He's trying to fly. And this is a great way to open it because you feel kind of his frustration with, not frustration as much as I'm his son. I know that I'm probably going to be able to fly. I want to be able to do that, yet I have hope for it. And seeing him there with Krypto, and I'm glad that Krypto seems to have the same look, traditional look that we used to have with him.
Yes.
Let's keep the classic Krypto look, because the classic Krypto look totally works for me. I get why they changed him for the new 52, and I actually quite liked it when they did. But now that you got this family, I want old Krypto. Keep old Krypto. I'm fine if that was somebody's goof up, because I guess that's what happened. Let that goof up stick. And now that you've got this storyline folded in, it makes sense.
Yes. Let's bring back Krypto. We keep this Krypto, this look. This is the right look for him. Again, and it's here. You want to know something? I just noticed this second.
What?
I'm looking at that page, the up and away, and he lands. He's laughing with Krypto. There's the little cross right there for that little cat that Jonathan accidentally fried.
Yeah.
With his heat vision. I never noticed that little cross right there because it's that same tree that he and his little friend play in, and that's where they buried the cat. And I'm like, dang, that's cool that they have that the artist put that in there.
Superman flying in a bit and just this sense of, whew, wow, I got it all back. Yeah. Imagine like being in this world where you feel like we've had to craft a life here, but it isn't our home. Not the way that we knew it. Then you come back and you're like, I can be Clark Kent again. I am Clark Kent again. This world remembers my life the way I remember my life. It's going to be interesting to see what changes and tweaks are in there because there's got to be some. But do I love the sense of him flying around and smiling, and being Superman. There's some characters that you need to take back to that. And when he goes back to working on the farm and he's watching Lois and you just see him loving her the way that he always has, I could read issue after issue of this. After big events, the two of them having these moments together. Mm-hmm. This is some things you just need to let. It's the same thing with Pretty Bird with Green Arrow. And that at some point in time he's going to screw up with her and she's not going to talk to him for ages. That's what Ollie does, right? But there's certain things that I just like about that. They work in a modern day. Like this Superman looks to some extent younger than he did before, but yet classic at the same time. And I don't know if it's just an artistic choice that makes him look that way.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I see what you're saying though, because they do, and both he and Lois have that, kind of that fresh look to them, and a little bit younger. But it's not anything that it could just be, I don't know. It just maybe. It's part of it, the innocent type thing, where it's just, oh, yay. Kind of, it's that oh shucks, Kansas farm boy kind of looking on the woman he loves, seeing his kid play with his dog and his little friend, and it just all that. I think it's, kind of that.
I love Lois's reaction to their name being on the mail again.
Yeah.
That's got to be a nice feeling to come back home and to be you again, to have your identity back. I love that you see it in her eyes. The artwork is really good on this issue. There's a lot of emotion to it. It's a very emotive issue, and I'm not saying that to be kind of, I don't know, artsy or anything like that, but I don't know another way to put it. I think it's something that we've liked about this creative team together when we talk about their Batman and Robin run. There's a lot of emotion in that run, and I think to be able to convey through the eyes and expression of characters' emotion, and like there's 3 panels where you see the mailbox, then you see Lois, then Lois. There is a sense of wow, real emotion there. Cobb's Dairy, man, as that started going on, I started more and more. Something started to feel wrong about good old Mr. Cobb.
I know, man. That was the funny thing, because normally I never thought anything remotely about that guy.
Neither did I.
But just that one panel, I'm like, wait a minute, what? It was just some weird. It was my little whatnot senses just started tingling. I'm like, and it was weird because I didn't even think anything. Why would I? Because that's Cobb, but something seemed kind of off. And I love the fact that, again, it's, really cool. Just, I don't know. The foreshadowing was kind of a neat thing where they didn't do over dun dun dun, but there was something there.
As they're playing pool together, I grew up with a pool table, as you know, in the basement at my father's house. And, just seeing them gather around, we didn't always play pool because we didn't have time, it was the time issue and that type of thing. It's one of the reasons that I want to get one for my house here, knowing that, are we going to play it constantly? It was funny, I was at Lighthouse Pools, and they'll sell pool tables, but the location near us doesn't sell pool tables. And I was actually looking for the purpose of buying one for my house here. And the guy's like, well, you're going to use a hot tub more because they have pools and hot tubs and stuff like that. And I'm sitting here like, well, they're two separate purchases because I'm not going to put a hot tub where I'd put a pool table. But I always enjoyed it for the social aspect. Like if you were over at my house, whether or not we're any good at it, it's a fun, you, me, our friend Joe, for example, gather around the pool table, shooting the breeze, poking fun at each other while you're playing pool. I like that kind of stuff. So in this moment, it takes me back to my childhood. We didn't play constantly. We had one in the basement, but when we did, you had like big marathons where I remember vivid times playing with my father and not, like I can't say that we played every week or even every month, but when we did, I remember those times as being something that were special and appreciating that you had that opportunity. And just seeing this family kind of connecting around this, forget that it's pool, this normal kind of fun activity that is really family oriented. And when he wants to watch a movie, they're like, no. So it's clear they're trying to like raise him to certain values. Yeah. I wonder what their rules, like I'm interested in knowing what their rules are for John.
Well, even just this whole, they're in the basement waiting out the storm. Two of them really, you think about it, there's no storm really that could do any damage to them. And even John talks about, hey, we've waited out we've dealt with harder storms than what this. We've survived worse storms than this, but it is the fact that this is, they're doing this as a family. And I like the fact that they do bring up that some crazy stuff have happened. Things have changed, but they're going to deal with it and we'll figure it out as a family. And again, it's the super family that we have growing here that I'm sitting here going, man, this is what I've always wanted in my Superman stories right here. I am getting this story and I'm so happy and thrilled and it's, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the nice things about it is that sense of, yeah, as you put it. There's those moments, I liked it in the X-Men. I think we used to always talk about the classic baseball games. And you see them do this every so often in various X-Men titles where, you'll see a fastball game, or they'll be playing behind Xavier's mansion. And I don't know, it was something I always liked, that they just put that little piece in there. It's the same thing as this. At the best, a few panels or a couple of pages revolving around that game. But it did give you the sense of this being a family. And this gives you a sense of them being a family. And then the whole bit with when it went into the garage and Superboy going off to go and do his thing, Superman catching him, but Batman and Damian being there was, so sweet how that all came together, because I was ready for another parents and sons hanging out together for another outing. I didn't know it was going to be this soon. I didn't see it being Batman and Damian showing up right here because I knew we were going to get into the next storyline. But this is what I talked about earlier about Lois having her moment where she plops in. It's freezing out here in this drafty old barn. And in case you haven't noticed, this is Hamilton, not Gotham. We talk indoors like normal people.
And they're sitting around the table. Clark's eating his pie, but Bruce hasn't touched his. Like, what, your dad doesn't like apple? Batman doesn't eat pie. Again, Damian and Jonathan, for me, always were going to steal the scene. But here's something I kind of like has me curious about something.
Okay.
When first hit the barn, Clark's like, you two can come out now. I'm here to talk, Clark. The way, for me, I'm kind of, and again, it could just be me reading it with a level of comfort between these two. Because he's calling him Clark again, and it's not calling him Superman. And, and I don't know if it's just because Bruce has gotten comfortable with this guy or
No. Hold on. Jim.
Yeah.
Because it folded in, there was no different Superman.
Right. That's what I was about to get to.
Yeah.
So, so does Bruce remember the other Superman?
Doubtful. I think he remembers this guy as being that Superman. So remember, those two, the Superman and Batman of this world were not buddy-buddy like the world's finest in the previous.
Right.
So I'm assuming they're in that kind of place.
Okay, so they're not buddy-buddy, but it's not buddy-buddy because this is a different universe Superman. It's just, no, they're not buddy-buddy because they never were. See, that's what I'm wondering.
There's the longevity of the New 52, dude, which has been a long time now. So they've been friends as long as the New 52's been around.
Right. So, yeah. So, again, that's what I'm wondering. Is there the familiarity? Is there not? I want to know what their personal relationship is. How these two are with each other outside of the cowl.
Like they were since Justice League kicked off, I would say.
But the Justice League stuff, they didn't have a good connection because it was a Superman from a different universe.
But that was a long time ago now in the New 52. Remember, there was 52 issues.
Oh, okay. You're talking. Okay, yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying. You're talking.
The difference is that now this guy's just been around. So I think the folding in that you're mentioning is what happened. So there's changes now because it's this Superman versus the other Superman. So his understanding of the rules of this guy are probably different than the other one. But I don't think he remembers the previous universe. I think he remembers this universe as it's been folded now because of this.
Okay.
So there's a folding that happened that you're referencing that, yes, happened. So it affected Batman, Perry White, Jimmy Olsen, everybody. So there's questions. These are the questions that are coming out of this that exactly you're right to be asking.
Right.
What does that look like now? I don't think it's remembered as an old universe for these people. It's that Clark Kent is Superman. And that's Clark Kent right there, standing there in the doorway. So I think it's the New 52 rebirth version. Because now everything's been folded into itself, like you're mentioning. So that's the heady part of it. Some of that New 52 history has been changed now because of this.
Well, and the Superman-Wonder Woman relationship.
Did that happen?
Right.
I would guess no. Yeah. Yeah.
Because Lois and Clark were together throughout all that. In this folded over version, you think about it, because with Jonathan's age, he would have had to have been, with Lois throughout that whole time.
Right.
So that whole relationship has been folded in, or I wonder if there's going to be a Wonder Woman Reborn aftermath issue.
Do we need it?
Do we need it? I don't know. Would I like to see it? Yes.
Yeah.
Just like I'd like to see a Batman issue where it kind of like explains some stuff. How much does Bruce remember? How much doesn't he? Because Bruce is different than everybody else for some odd reason.
They didn't forget anything, dude. They didn't forget anything. I don't take it as they forgot anything. I think what happens is the history's been changed. So here's the thing. For us, the storylines happen. We know what happened. Superman Reborn happened. So when Superman Reborn happened, everything was folded in. So it's kind of like what happens on the Flash TV show. Barry goes back through time and he comes back and things have been altered. And Barry has to kind of figure out what those things are. Well, this is like that. It's very much like what happens on Flash when Barry has gone back through time. So these things happened in the comics. They actually were a parallel timeline, but now this timeline's been folded in and this is the current active timeline. It starts from here and goes backwards and starts from here and goes forward, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. And it's one of those things that can get, you can get bogged down if you just, you can get a headache really easily if you start thinking about this kind of stuff, and I do like the fact that, it is kind of being addressed in this, and it's definitely getting addressed in action, where what's changed, what hasn't changed, and, Clark looking into this stuff. But this is something that it's weird because part of me, I'm like, yeah, we're good to go. Let's continue moving on because we got a cool story here. But there is part of me that does nag at, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? So there's so many little what about this kind of stuff that, part of me wants the story, but part of me doesn't need the story. It's one of those weird things with me and where my mind starts going off on different tangents.
I think here's the danger. You can go too far with it, and you're going to really turn people off. Because what ends up happening is you're going to go, okay, now that Superman Reborn's happened, we need to take every title that Superman could possibly touch on any level, and we need to give him a Reborn Aftermath issue. You do that, you're going to really turn people off fast. Like, do we want a Batman Reborn Aftermath issue? I don't know that I do. Batman's got great storylines going on in his books. Right. Don't you derail my storylines with a Batman Reborn Aftermath? I'm going to hunt you down. I'd rather find it out organically, like this. You said it great here. You said we're finding out certain things in this book. And we will continue to find those things out organically in storytelling. And I think that's a better way to do it. I think there's certain titles like New Superman and Superwoman where it makes sense, because you're going to be advancing their stories naturally as you address this. So you're not derailing those books. You're organically moving them forward because of the fact that they are so entrenched in this universe that, like, you kind of have to. But I don't need to see that with every, DC, like Wonder Woman's kind of a wishy-washy one. And the reason why I'm saying wishy-washy with that one is I think they've so taken Wonder Woman in a new direction now that I'm afraid that doing a Reborn Aftermath is a step backwards. Versus focusing on, I think they're doing great things over in Wonder Woman. I've always loved Wonder Woman, so this isn't, I think to take Wonder Woman back to that era now is a step backwards for her. I think the character has moved forward in that title. It's had its own rebirth, if that makes sense, under what Rucka and team are doing over there. That I would just keep that moving forward. I think to step backwards and go, hey, do you remember when? I think you don't need to do that. I think we know that the guy that she had a relationship with no longer exists. Or you can argue he's like the big toe of this guy or something like that. But but really the predominant personality is the Superman we know and love who's sitting around the table with his wife and kid. So I don't need an explanation that, like, the guy doesn't exist anymore in this that had the relationship with her. So if he doesn't exist and perhaps in this world now never existed, at least in the form that he was, they didn't have a relationship. I don't need that clarified.
Right. Okay.
I guess I would take it as the big events happened. Their battles happened. He was there, not the other guy.
Right. Yeah, and we saw that he was the one who fought Doomsday. He was the one who died. Again, part of me would like to see that story play out just because I think it would be kind of neat, with this whole universe, with this Lois and this Jonathan, if Jonathan was around and how that would have played out. But again, I don't need to see that. I have the Death of Superman story that I read, and I have that. But if they retold the story now, how would it have been retold and stuff like that? Those are the kind of stuff that I do wonder about.
Here's an interesting piece. I guess it'd be interesting to see if Lois and Wonder Woman and Superman encounter each other, and because of her godlike power, she knows.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to see that. I don't know. I think if there's a story to be told and they want to tell it, they'll tell it. I don't want it forced. I guess I don't need everything explained. I'm pretty content with what happened. And I say that as a fan and loving this. I could go either way versus... So I guess that's really it. I guess I could go either way.
And I'm in the same boat as you, dude. We're in the same boat exactly how with, just keep giving me these great stories and I'm happy. I don't need, it's just, it's one of those things where my mind starts thinking and my mind, when I start thinking, I get in trouble. But, when I start going off on these other tangents of how would that story be different? What about this? That the what if questions, always kind of has me going. Like you mentioned with Wonder Woman, how, what if she remembers their relationship, but he doesn't because it's been completely folded in, how would they deal with kind of stuff like that? Or, Wally and Barry, do they remember because they've got the Flash powers that kind of make them a little bit, off kilter with the fold in, so they remember everything, but others don't. And there's so many different, ways they could go with this. That do they need to tell them? No, of course not. I'm getting great stories, but what if they did? What about this? And I think, sometimes I get that into that what if and what about this kind of mindset. And it can be dangerous and it can be destructive for a story. Like your Batman example, prime example. If they really went into a Superman aftermath and they didn't have the plan well enough, they could derail a Batman story, which I don't want to see. So they would, again, there's talented writers and talented crew over on the Bat titles right now. They could maybe figure out a way to put it into it because they're a lot smarter than I am when it comes to storytelling. But do they need to? No. If it rose off a story, should they do it? Heck no. Let's just, keep focusing on what you're doing well, which is telling me these stories. And if something needs to be explained, you tell it in the story and in the context.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Now we're going on from this into this whole bit about Jonathan's powers and how his powers should actually be more than Superman's, is the way that Batman's looking at it through his analysis, and his fears of that power being unchecked and what could happen to him. And it is kind of, when you take a look at what's been going on in like some of Frank Miller's stuff in the future, you kind of can take a look at that and go, okay, maybe Batman's onto something. I don't know. Superman's kids don't always have such a great track record. So I like how Clark, refers about this, the darkness is growing out there and it's real, but we need to shine brighter. And I think this adds like a sense of the way that they're raising their kid and this family time they're making is something that's really important in giving John a good background that he can be that type of guy. Leading to this mystery about the dairy farm, because they're talking about it being environmental. So if it's an environmental issue, finally we're getting to look at Cobb's Dairy, and who's going to go explore it? Nobody but the Bat.
Again, great playoff between the two. In that kitchen, and just that moments where, Clark's like, hey, this is my son. And even Lois jumps in there saying, hey, this is our kid. We'll deal with this, and I get, the strength of, Lois Lane in these circumstances where she's standing toe to toe with Batman. She's standing, standing her ground, and it's nothing threatening, nothing violent, nothing like that, but she's not backing down. She's not hesitating. It's that, the confidence in who she is. If I was in the room with Batman, I would be a stuttering mess, but not Lois Lane. I love that strength of who she is, where she's able to stand up to these circumstances. And even the fact that when Bruce goes over there and he's investigating the farm, I love the fact that, Clark is sitting there going, okay, he's gone. I can't hear Bruce's heartbeat anymore. So he was watching, making sure Bruce did leave.
I love this bit with Batman and Cobb. So what is the deal? Is that real Cobb is my question. Because the kid certainly is somebody
she seems real, but, again, how much of this is, real? Is it just Bessie? Is it Cobb? Is Bessie the alien that's taking over Cobb's mind? There's so many different ways this story can go, that I'm wondering what is what. And now, here's something that you can help me out with. And it was something I noticed in my third read through. Okay, so Bruce is on the farm. He's going through and he's looking at the milk jug, and he does that kind of sound. Now, the thing that triggered with me isn't that what Rorschach did in in Watchmen? That was always Rorschach's little catchphrase. And also that just triggered because I don't ever remember Bruce doing that.
I guess I kind of took it because of the situation. I don't know. I see why you're linking that. I don't. Yeah.
Again, throw out another, because that one had me thinking, because, what if the connection from the Watchmen universe isn't just observations. What if other characters are affecting people in this universe?
I don't see Bruce being Rorschach.
I don't see it, but what if? That was one of those things where I was like, because when I first saw it, I just like, nah, and then I moved on. But again, every time I read that scene, every time I look at that, I'm like, man, what if they're doing more? If there's even a greater influence on this universe that we don't know? Because Bruce is the one who found the button. Bruce is the one who is doing these investigations. What if Bruce is able to deduce the changes because he's got some influence in him? I'm not saying
as
Bruce
opposed
Wayne
to being
is
the world's
Rorschach.
greatest detective.
Again, yeah, it could be just because he's the world's greatest detective.
And his connection with the Flash. So, I don't know. They'd have to sell me on that one.
Yeah.
I'm not as keen on that. As a matter of fact, I might be disappointed in that, depending on how they handle it. They'd have to really write that well.
Yeah. And again, I'm not saying this is 100%, I think this is the factor. But again, just that one word is what triggered this whole mindset. And this whole line of thought that I had going on. And it wasn't, I said, it wasn't really until like my third read through that I really even noticed that. And I started asking myself, what if? What if always gets me in trouble. But it's one of those things that I was just like, man, what about this? And then you start just thinking if he has some form of influence in him, is that going to play out later? Is that, does that mean the guy we keep saying is Ozymandias, maybe he's not Ozzy, maybe he's somebody else influenced by Ozzy, or maybe it's, I don't know. It's all these different possible spins that get spun out of control if I don't keep it in check and I don't shut my mouth, just start, all these wild and crazy theories start flying out. And it's one of those things that, again, a powerful story like this is doing this. It's making me go, okay, what about this? What about that? And can everything be connected back, or is this completely a different entity all itself? And that's just Bruce being Bruce. It's not he's just the greatest detective.
I don't know. I guess I think that connection that you're making is a stretch. That's my own. Hang on. I think that's just as valid as your conjecture is. So when I say stuff like that, I don't buy into it, but that doesn't mean you're not right. I don't know. I mean, how many times have we on this show gone, I've thought something that you're saying is completely bunk and that winds up being true. So who knows? I mean, who knows? I mean, I guess I'm having trouble seeing that being a viable story with Rorschach somehow influencing Bruce, but that doesn't mean it's not the case. I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to see. I guess here's the thing. I guess I would like to believe that. I guess I'd more like to believe that our heroes are vying over their own free will. It makes Superman's overriding this all the more impressive. It makes Bruce doing an investigation with the Flash all the more impressive. Wally coming into this world when he really shouldn't, all the more impressive. I don't know. I'm really excited to see. I don't know. One issue could make a difference for me on that where I'll go, Jim, you were right. And it was cool.
Well, and here's the thing. Let me clarify, my stance on this. I don't want that to be.
Okay.
I'm with you where I like the fact that it was the power of the super family. It was the power of that family unit that saved them, that was able to realign the universe. I like the fact that Bruce is figuring this out because he is the world's greatest detective, and Wally and Barry were able to pull Wally out and save Wally because of their connection, because of the fact that they are true heroes and they are, instruments of hope. I want all that to be the truth. I want that to be the case. I don't want influences from other universes affecting this at all.
Sure.
So but again, as I said, that one thing got me spinning down that one road, that one crazy road. Now, I am curious, what is Bessie? Who is Bessie? Because my theory is Bessie is some form of alien that is either influenced or has been able to clone herself into the grandfather. Because the little girl isn't, the little girl is his granddaughter, not his daughter. So maybe the mom and the grandpa, the real grandpa, died by this alien, and this alien's now taking care of it. Or maybe, I don't know. Again, it's what is Bessie? What is the guy?
Good question. I think that's part of the storyline that's great right now is we've jumped from this big storyline. They've already got me in another one that I'm ready to follow. Speaking of storylines that I'm ready to follow, why don't we take a look at Action Comics? Because this one really it's called The New World, Part 1. So it really starts to establish what the new world looks like for Superman. And it's pretty critical at this point because there's a lot of questions we have. So it's Action Comics 977, which is the Superman Reborn aftermath. And we see Kent right back on the job. And I loved in the background of that, you see references to classic, DC creators and editors and things like that, reference in the background, including on the books.
Yeah, well, that was the thing. I saw the Siegel and Schuster on the books. I saw that and I cheered. I was like, yeah!
The Swan, though, reference to Kurt Swan. Carlin, I'm assuming, reference to Mike Carlin. I don't know. It's kind of an interesting references to a whole bunch of people. There was something else. What else did I see? Bob Harris on editing. Just references to different, creators and things. It was a very, very cool job. And then seeing Clark and Lois both working at the Planet, and even Clark making that reference, Lois types just as fast, or might type faster. I just thought it was great to see him back on the floor there with Lois, being Clark and Superman at the same time. I don't know, it was geeky for me.
Yeah, and again, I'm agreeing with you completely on the geekiness. That was awesome because you kind of see Clark do golly gee willikers, Perry. Well, gee, Perry, I think Lois is faster. I like again, as he's talking, I'm getting, kind of the little bit, Kansas farm boy Clark Kent voice that whenever actors who are playing Clark Kent and Superman, how they kind of change their mannerisms. They change their voice a little bit. They change how they present themselves when they're Clark Kent as compared to when they're Superman. I'm reading all that and I'm seeing all that in just the way the artwork is. And that for me was a really cool moment. Then I love the fact that, Perry asks about his godson. Bring him in the office sometime. Hey, he misses you too, Perry. Hey, once we move back to the city, maybe we can catch a Metros game. I was like, for me, again, I love the folding in. I love the fact that John is now Perry's godson, and that's, for me, that was kind of a cool moment. I was like, man, I like the fact that they're doing this and that Perry White would be the person they would go to, especially if Clark's parents are gone. Perry would be that guy that you would want to be the god's father,
Now, who's building Corbin again? Is that Eradicator?
No, that's Metallo.
No. Metallo isn't rebuilding Metallo.
Oh.
Corbin is Metallo. I'm talking about the...
Right. Oh, sorry. I thought you said who. Okay, yeah.
The red being who looks like Code, is that Eradicator or something else?
I couldn't figure that one out yet, because this is just the holographic projection of whoever it is. So at first I was wondering if it's our green cloak dude, and it can't be. Eradicator would probably be my lead step, but what if? Oh God, I can't think of what that one computer villain that Clark faced when the Truth storyline came out, when his secret identity got completely blown. What was that villain? What?
I'm forgetting the name, but I know what you're talking about.
That villain was the one guy I was thinking this could be, because when they defeated him, but it's kind of, you think about it, he was living code, so he's kind of hard to kill. He could have very easily hidden somewhere. So I'm wondering if that's why he's doing this and he's coming back after Clark for a little payback.
I don't know.
That's my lead on that's my front runner guess of who it is. I can't think of the guy's name right now. I'm kicking myself for not remembering it.
I'm drawing a blank too. Yeah, could be that.
Now the quest for truth, going with the truth, justice, and the American way for our Superman. I liked, again, the fact that, in Superman, in the Superman 20, he and Lois were talking about, hey, we got to start looking at what the changes were. And then in Action Comics, we're seeing the change. Now, it's not a direct line of saying this part you have to go to here, but I do like the fact that the two different titles are addressing the same issues. They're addressing the same concepts of what's going on in this guy's life. He's got to look into this and start exploring it. And again, going back to the Fortress of Solitude, looking through the past. This was the neat stuff for me in this issue. There wasn't a lot of big punching or, explosions or any action, but there was some great character and some great story and some great setup, but it wasn't like, you know, sometimes a setup issue can slow things down for you, or you can like, oh, okay, this is a setup issue. Nothing's going to happen here. It didn't have that feel to it. It's had just as much power, just as much punch. And that's the thing that I loved about the Superman Reborn series, you know, that story arc where every issue kept going boom, 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 building. They're continuing that same flow. They're continuing that same feel. It's creative team on this is just, I love this way this Superman is being written. I love the way the family's being written. I am just so incredibly happy with who he is, you know, not only in, but as well as out of the costume.
Yeah. And I think that's the piece I like this Superman. And I think you're hitting the nail on the head with that. That's pretty important to me. I like this Superman a lot. And I think that with any hero you're reading about, right? Any character you're reading about, you need to like them. And when you don't, there's a huge problem there when you don't like those characters. Or you feel like you don't like them as much as you did. I think we've gotten to a point right now where this Superman's really likable. And I think the difference is the way the world reacts to him is more uplifting. You know, Superman's the bright light in a dark world. You know, he's not swallowed by the darkness, if that makes sense. And this is exactly what I want from Superman. And I don't mind that the world around him's changed. What it is he needs to be the beacon, the leader, if you will.
But he's very reluctant to take that role, I noticed.
No, it really does. I mean, I really don't want to diminish what I'm saying out of this because I'm really not referencing that. It's more of Superman knows who he is and him constantly being himself so comfortably. You know, it's, and he's a change agent in many ways by his example. And that's something that we both like about him. That's what the Truth, Justice, and the American Way is all about, right? He embodies certain ethical qualities about him that we like. And I think matter today more than ever. I think we're longing for them now more than ever. So it's nice to see him in a modern world trying to bring those things to bear and it being that guy who we know he's done it so well over the years that he almost is timeless. And out of time in his presentation. I think Lois and John in many ways keep him contemporary.
Well, he is and always has to be that beacon of hope.
Yes.
Now, when they did the New 52 Superman, people weren't trusting him. I was one of those guys who was like, this is really cool because, look at how society is. Our modern society would say, hey, what's his angle? But now within the story, he's had enough time to flesh it out and show people, okay, I'm really here to help. I'm not somebody you have to be scared of. So, I like the fact that this Superman, and it's one of the things I always love about Superman is that he is that, he's the dun-da-da, he's out there, he's open, it's, he's the light, and it's been thrown so many times with him, so many times where it can get, kind of beaten to death in a way, but that's one of the cool things about Superman. And it's the fact that this is the guy you want to be. This is that hero you want to be, but not just because he's got cool powers, but because of just the level of what he'll do to save and protect and all that. I don't know. It's one of the reasons I love, reading the Superman comics, and I'm getting that so much now that I'm going back to that, those really, kind of moments, and I'm very excited for that. And I want to see them stay the course with this, but they've already dropped some hints as to what's coming down the pipeline. Because we see our mystery friend going through the different rogues of Superman, and he's gathering a team. And we've seen some advertisements in Action Comics 979. It's coming, where Superman's going up against Zod, Metallo, Eradicator, Blank. I think who else did they say? I think Brainiac. So Soup's going to have his hands full, and I want to see how he deals with all those parties.
I agree with you. That's the piece. How he deals with all those parties is going to be a very interesting piece as we move forward. That's going to be a whole this collection of characters being put back together as creating a Superman Revenge Squad, I guess is what they're looking for. I like a modern version of that. It's like we talked about Mixus Pitlick, right? Right. We wanted to see more of that, so a modern Superman Revenge Squad, if that's where I think that is where this is going. I'm really anxious to see it. I like this setup being contrasted with just seeing why Superman cares about Jor-El and Lara. I think when you live through this, the way that Superman's technology allows him to, and I think this is doing something that you don't see very often. You see Superman get to know the story, but you don't see Superman reacting to the story unfold. An entire world, so many people, so many lives, the way that I don't know if I could do what they did. Wanting to tell them, I was with a wonderful family. The Kents, they cared for me, that type of thing. I really liked the way this all unfolded, where Clark was not just passive, he was active. You don't always see that. Very well written. This was a very well written piece, because I felt the much more connection as to why he would look up to Jor-El, why he'd look up to Lara, because of these interactions. Because you need this piece, you gotta make me believe. Like, why would he care? And I say that as somebody who's adopted. I don't know who, my birth parents are. At this point in time, I'm in my late 40s. I don't have a whole lot of urge. And I really don't mean that in a negative way. My parents have been my parents, for my entire life. Both of them have passed on now. I'm not looking for replacements. I'm thrilled to death that they made the choice to put me up for adoption. I had wonderful parents. So I'm not looking for this connection to the people that gave birth to me, other than if I were to say anything, it'd be thank you for your choice. Because I'm here because of it. But I don't have that connection because there's no history, nor am I going to manufacture it. Like, if I knew their life story, I wouldn't all of a sudden go, wow, they feel like parents now. The way he goes through this, I get it. It's an interesting sort of spin on it. I get it. And it's a cool thing to see where you can kind of go, well, this wouldn't work for me, but I get why it does for him. And I just think it's very well written, because this story's been told so many times, right? Yeah. But yet this was a different angle on it, at least than I've seen in quite some time, because I really like the way this played out.
Yeah, oh, God, yeah. And this is a story that non-comic book readers know. They know the story, the origin story of Superman, how his planet, the Krypton blew up, the parents put him on the rocket ship, sent him to Kansas, and it's just your everyday person will know this origin story. That's how much it's been told and how much it's out there in the media. But this version of it was absolutely just wonderful. And again, everything gets talked about. I loved how, as they're talking, he's talking to them. They can't interact and they can't know. But I do love that part. But who will raise him? A kind, wonderful couple that you would embrace. They'll take me in, nurture me as their own. You could not hope for better. I love just that little bit right there. And he's trying, again, this is Superman trying to let his family know, hey, it's okay. You did the right call. And I again, love the fact that he's, throwing out there that, could I do this with Jonathan? And him being a dad now. There's so many different little versions on this that I've seen this story 100,000 times, but it was still just as powerful. And it wasn't even just the story as well. It's the artwork. I loved the moments of kind of wonder, and just, oh my God, on Superman's face, especially the ending sequence when Krypton blows up, just the look on his face is like an entire world, so many people, so many lives, and it was like, wow, that's, kind of a very powerful moment.
Now, Jim, here's the thing, as we're reading through this, they don't address how the Kents died.
No.
So that's still on I actually hope there's more exploration. I want to know. Is that different? Is it the way Clark remembers it? I don't know if they're going to go to that. I'm curious. It kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier, though. How much do we really need to know about that piece? I don't know. I'm glad that we've got this Superman. I'm glad that things are how he remembers them. There's just certain pieces that have been put into the New 52. Are they still there? Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. And again, like in the ending, that final sequence, there's the purple crystal. Is that part of the Revenge Squad? Is that our mysterious cloak dude? Is that Is that Dr. Manhattan? Is that something else? Who is that little mystery voice that that Clark kind of heard that, Keelix couldn't?
It's green.
You see that crystal.
It's green.
What?
It's green. The voice that he heard?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if it's Ozymandias.
I don't know. But, again, the crystal is purple, though. So does that mean anything? Or is that just, I don't know. Again,
remember the green voice, remember Ozymandias has been watching him, though.
Right. So are we dealing with two separate things? Is that purple crystal something different than the green voice?
Well, I don't know.
I know. It's kind of cool. The mysteries. It's
agree.
The unknowns.
I'm glad we had a chance to do this because we talked about what to do for this episode and how to talk about it, because we talked about maybe putting another character on this episode to talk about, maybe not just make it a Superman focus. I'm glad we did this because it's not very often that we have been able to talk through a whole storyline and then talk about like a couple issues of the aftermath of it. And I like doing that. It's something I think we've historically done on the show where we've taken whole stories and kind of covered them, which we sort of did with this. You said speeding bullets earlier, we were chatting. I'm like, there's no way we're speeding bullets this one. But we didn't necessarily go page by page on this one and how we did it. But I'm glad we did it because I think this is an important turning point for Superman. And to talk about how we felt about it, I feel very satisfied at the end of this. Loved the New 52 Superman. I really did. I liked the guy a lot. And I think that came over time in seeing his journey. But when you bring this guy back and put him into that world, I love the way they folded him in. It's just the folding worked really well. It left more questions, left mysteries, as you're talking about. It is funny. I was talking about how I don't want to see this, I don't want to see that. Here's the reason why. I guess I'm more cognizant as I get older of what might be derailing to comic book series for readers that are enjoying them. So because Superman had an event doesn't mean that you want to derail Wonder Woman, I guess is the way that I'm looking at it.
Right.
Whereas the two other titles in the Superman universe, New Superman and Superwoman, make sense to have aftermath issues. I want to see the answers to every question you asked because I think that they're interesting. Some of them I think just need to be organic. We'll see them over time as they team up together. I want to see those things. It's an interesting sort of puzzle. I think you and I are the same way. Like if they said, hey, we're going to do a month of aftermath of Superman, you and I'd buy every bit of it up and talk about how geeky cool it was. So I say that, but I'm also aware that if they released a month of aftermath issues, you would really tick off some fans. So I think them being judicious in how they handle this is pretty smart. Because the storyline really in and of itself is a great story on its own. And I think build it into the universe. Let us find out. If I'm a Batman reader, I'll find out in his interactions with Superman. And I want to see. So it's smart. I think they're doing this in a very smart way. Sometimes you learn from the past. And I think they did a good job with this. It's a great storyline. I'm very Superman excited right now.
Mm-hmm.
Green Lantern, let you and I destroy that space junk.
I would like to remind everyone about our show voicemail line. It's 1-440-388-4434 or Dr. Norge on Skype. We love having you part of the show. I actually didn't mention this at the beginning. I'll mention it now. I want to thank everyone for their patience. I'm actually moving. Moving for a second time. We sold our house that we were living in, and we had moved actually over the summer in September, but the people who are buying the house want to close a week early. So the last 2 weeks have been like a mad scramble for me of getting the repairs done that they require as part of their inspection. So it's why our episode recording has been a little bit delayed. So thank you for your patience on that. I'm also in the middle of getting my principal's licensure and trying to scramble to get that done as well. It's funny with all these things going on, and you've had some work issues. I had somebody on one of at Facebook, or I think it was Facebook, asked me why we didn't just do a show hiatus. I don't ever want to do a hiatus. To me, it's kind of, I'd rather just release when we can and keep episodes coming than to say, hey, we're going to take 2 months off. You know what I mean? It's kind of I think we've consistently kept doing the show since we started. We put out episodes every month since we started. Actually, we have not missed a month in 11 years that we've been doing the show. We've always had episodes out, even no matter what crazy's gone on. So I'd rather keep episodes coming, even if it's, 2 or 3 a month. We've still gotten episodes to you every single month that the podcast has been in existence. And I want to continue doing that. I want to get us back weekly again at some point, But in lieu of that, I want episodes and content coming to you regularly. I think that's really important to me. So thank you for your patience. Thank you for your understanding. You are important to us. That's why I want to get that to you. I don't want to putting the show on hiatus. It's not like really not in my desire. Even when you've gone on like big vacations, you've been in Italy, another country, we found crazy ways to record because getting you content's important to us. So I always want that to be the theme of the show is, yeah, we might have to wait a little bit longer, but the guys are going to get us something. I think that's an important trust relationship between us and our audience that we're going to get that to you. And I like this. I mean, like, I don't know. This was fun for me today. It's therapeutic in many ways to get on and just start talking about comics that I love. So recording the show is never a burden. It's always an exciting time for me. And I hope that always comes across. I know it is for you, Jim. So I think that's why we do what we do, the crazy thing. So thank you for your patience. I guess it's really the whole theme of this whole thing. It's because we value you. I want to remember about our show website, ragingbullets.com, and that's when we do release episodes or we're getting close to recording. I like to post something saying, hey, recording's coming. This is what we're going to be talking about, so you're in the loop on what's going on. I do send that to Twitter. We also have a Facebook fan page. I've mentioned it many times on the show, but if you're a newer listener, check out our Facebook group community. What a great group of people over there. Jeremy and the whole gang over there, and I don't do it justice by I don't want to diminish Jeremy's role because Jeremy deserves to be named the way that he does, but there's so many great people over there that are regulars. And it's a whole gang of people that just get together and talk and hang out, and they talk about comics, pop culture, television shows, other podcasts, blogs, news. They're really, when the news hits from DC, I like to pop over there and see their reactions because it's a lot of fun. And when I say news from DC, it's actually news across comics. People always ask me, is it okay to promote my stuff over there? Sure. Please don't make that your only posts. It's a community, so hang out and chat. But no, I consider us a community. if another podcast wants to post that, hey, they've got an episode up, go ahead, Fed, go for it. That's fine. I am not a big fan of, somehow, if I keep it hidden that you've got a podcast out there, we're going to get more listeners. I've never been a fan of that. I'm a big fan of cross promotion. I would ask that if you promote on our group, please try to promote us. I think that's part of the whole, winking in our community aspect, but that's all I would ask for. I think that's fair. But people have been good to us over the years. And so I feel like if you're a listener and you've shouted us out somewhere and you want to promote what you're doing, go for it. I've always told people, call into the show, voicemail line, and add something to the discussion besides, promote your podcast or whatever, or your blog, but add something to the discussion. I like hearing you. So I'm a fan of that. And honestly, the podcast is one of the areas you want to get it on because the majority of our audience listens to the show. So get it on there, put it in the group. I don't care. It's fine. I don't know. I always, you know what? I will say this. I do appreciate the politeness of people saying, hey, I should at least ask first. So that is appreciated. We're on Google. PlayStation Network account is raging_bullets. Please feel free to add me there. I'm drnorge on the Nintendo Network. I think the best way to get me on there is the Miitomo app. I'm not entirely sure. Nintendo's not as I love Nintendo. I think they're a great company. I love their games and all that, but their networking, their interactivity on that, you got to do these friend codes or whatever. I'm not quite sure how that nonsense all works. I got a Switch, so I've been experimenting with that. A couple of our listeners, Isaiah, I know, added me on, and somebody else did, and I apologize, I don't have it in front of me. So Isaiah was the most recent one that added me on, which is why his name came to my mind. Added on through there, and I think they got me through Miitomo. I'm not sure, but however, yay. So if you're a Nintendo user out there, I am on the Miitomo app, so you can get me on that way. Have you been on that?
No.
Well, it's a wacky little app. You ask very strange questions, about, which way you like your corn buttered and stuff like that. And, they seem to think that people will want to know.
Yeah. See, if there's something that's going to ask me a lot of personal questions.
No. I'm pretty convinced nobody's learned anything about me from Miitomo. Because the questions are strange, so the answers have to be equally strange because they don't make sense. So, you're in no danger, Jim, of actually anybody learning anything about you. If they think the questions that you're answering in Mitoma are representative of who you really are, ooh.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a professional skeptic, so.
Yeah.
It's who I am. Paranoid is another word for it.
So are you going to think so here, let me ask you this question. If you created like a character in Mitomo and you started answering nonsense questions, would you think that that's what people would assume, like that's your whole makeup?
No, I'm worried that they're going to, it's going to be the social engineering to try to figure out, passwords and this and that and try to steal my identity. And, again, it's paranoid, delusions that I do have, but just because I think the world's out to get me doesn't mean they're not. It's like if I get a phone call from somebody and I don't recognize the number, it's one, I sometimes won't pick up, or sometimes I do pick up and I just pick up. I just say hello and I don't say anything beyond that, and I just listen. And if it's telemarketing and this and that, I just listen and just stand there, and I give them a completely silent response, and eventually I make them uncomfortable to the point where they will hang up.
Jim actually took 6 months. I got a new phone number now. Jim actually took 6 months to realize it was me and not Dr. Bluebird.
Well, that is a problem sometimes. I've gotten calls from people, that were them, and I didn't know who it was. So I'm like,
Well, none of my numbers are the same.
Right.
It just dawned on me because I took the one phone number I have is my father's old phone number. So my cell phone number has changed since then, and my home phone number has changed. They wouldn't let me move my home phone number, and I'm actually in the same city. Very strange. They said that I was in a different grouping range or something like that. I've never heard of that before. So our old home number that we had for years I was not able to take with me. Very strange. And I mean, I fought for it. I talked to lots of higher ups, or at least I think I talked to higher ups. I was crabby and asked to talk to higher ups, and they wouldn't let me keep my phone number. It did take the sting out of it that I took the phone number that I was growing up with.
Yeah, cool. That's the important number.
Yeah. So I ended up keeping that one. So on that end, that's my cell number now, which I like. So I'm cool with that. I am realizing though that there are people who I am friends with who don't have my new cell number. I'm going to fix that problem. I was just thinking the other day, I'm like, I haven't talked to in ages is Daryl Taylor. And I'm like, I don't know why now. He doesn't have my phone number. He doesn't have I'm like sitting here, I'm like, and we periodically have, Daryl's a friend. I mean, I consider Daryl a close friend. And Daryl and I know each other from podcasting and from, New York Comic Con and stuff like that. And he's I've kept in touch with him over time. Actually, he's been far better with it than I have. Daryl's just that kind of, if you listen to any Daryl's podcasts on the Taylor Network, the guy that you listen to on those podcasts is very much who Daryl is. He's just a really good guy. And somebody I genuinely consider a friend. I'm like, I don't think he has my phone number now.
Dude, there's a chance he could have probably, reached out and texted the number you're dialing has been disconnected. And he's like, what the heck, did Sean just, disconnect on
Yeah, it's like, I'm like just random putts that is, just taken away. And honestly, it's been how busy I've been over the last, really since before my father passed away. And I literally, a lot of this just slipped my mind. It's not a personal thing, but, it can quickly come off that way. Daryl's not that kind of guy though. I mean, I'll explain to him, hey dude, I just realized I haven't given you my phone number. So, I'm just thinking, I don't think we've texted since then. I'll have to fix that problem. Yeah, well, but here's the thing. He wouldn't be the only one. There's other people that fall into that category that don't. There's family members of mine who don't have my phone number right now because of it. They do because they knew my dad's phone number, but they don't know it's mine.
Right.
So I can be picky about this, though.
So who's going to measure? Who's going to measure up?
I don't know. Apparently you do.
I got your cell number at least.
Well, here's the beauty of it, though. You're paranoid when I call you now because it's not the same number. So it's an interesting sort of relationship that we have. Like, I call you, but you're not entirely sure it's me still. So it's kind of an interesting sort of thing. I should call you from my home phone sometime.
Yeah, you're going to have to, so I know.
I don't think I've done that.
Dude, you haven't.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to call you from my cell phone and have a conversation with you. Then I'm going to call you and try to pretend like we didn't have that conversation.
The fact that you're telling me you're doing this isn't going to really work.
Yes, it will, because you're a natural skeptic. You'll convince yourself. I don't need to do this. You've already got it. Here's the thing. I can tell you this now, and you're going to say, well, he'd never do that after he already told me on the podcast he would do that. That would be stupid. And you know I'm right.
I'm not arguing. You notice I'm not arguing.
I know you're not arguing. It's gonna be it's the fun. And here's the thing. Now that I've said that, it adds a double whammy to it. On that note, we are sponsored this episode once again by DCBService.com and InStockTrades.com. Jim, tell us what's going on over at DCBService.com.
Well, they always have their bundles, which are wonderful. 50% off the various, titles and the various, Vertigo, Young Animals, etc. All that great stuff. But this month they've got some great statue selections. Batman black and white statues designed by Amanda Conner of Batman as well as Harley Quinn. 32% off. $54.40 for each of them, and also Justice League movie statues of Aquaman, Flash, and Wonder Woman, also 32% off each of them, each one only $102. So thank you, DCBS.
Over at InStockTrades.com, I'm looking over there. First of all, in the deals of the week, I did forget to mention Legionnaires, trade paperback volume 1. Is available. It's 50% off, only $17.49. Legionnaires is a great series. I also like to shout out their latest releases, though. They got Vigilante by Marv Wolfman, Volume 1, 42% off, only $17.39. Great series if you haven't picked this one up. Aquaman trade paperback, this is the current series, Volume 2, Black Manta Rising. It's the Rebirth one, 42% off, only $11.59. Batman Legacy. This is a storyline that often gets lost. It's Batman versus Ra's al Ghul. There's a Bane component to it. It's a great story. This one is 42% off, only $14.49. If you missed this one, and I don't hear this one mentioned in the same way as some of the other Batman storylines, it's a big one to catch up on. It's really good. Batman trade paperback, Volume 2, I Am Suicide. That's 42% off, only $9.85. I'm going to shout this one up. It's a Marvel one. I'm digging the Captain America Steve Rogers series a lot. Because of what they're doing. So it's Captain America Steve Rogers trade paperback Volume 2, The Trial of Maria Hill. And it's 42% off, only $9.27. It's just a great book that Marvel's putting out right now that I'm really digging, the Steve Rogers book. And for those of you that like classic ones, EC Archives, The Haunt of Fear. I'm a geek and a half for things like Twilight Zone and stuff like that. I love the EC horror comics. And this hardcover is 42% off, only $28.99. For classic comics, it's just a great price point. I'm glad they're republishing again the EC Archives, because these are comics that really lay the foundation work for today. And the horror stories are very contemporary, and they still hold up. So definitely check out the EC Archives. And, I don't know, just great stuff. I want to mention from over at DCBService.com, they are a digital partner. So whether you use My Digital Comics or Comixology, link those accounts to your DCB Service account, but make sure when you go to shop, go to DCBService.com and go through their portal, because you'll actually see it in the coding that it's actually through DCB Service. You earn 5% of those purchases towards your DCB Service order. They always tabulate them up, and you get it's the same purchase price, but they get a kickback from it, and it's a way to help our show sponsor, and you get a kickback in the fact that you get some credit from them. So it's kind of a win-win for everybody, but it's a great way if you're mainly a digital purchaser to help out our show sponsor. And DCB Service and InStockTrades.com is a name of companies that you're hearing that are sponsoring a number of podcasts, so it's a great way to help them for supporting your podcast. So thank you, DCB Service and InStockTrades.com. Jim, our next episode, we're going to be talking more comics. We have actually a couple things planned that are coming up. You and I talking about some regular comics, and you and I having a guest on that we're going to have Chad Ciccone come on to talk about his book, Blue Hour. So a couple things coming up, depending on how the recordings go, decide which episode's next. But some big things coming, and once again, thank you everybody for your patience. We will see you next episode.
Bye!
On November 13th, Sean Whalen was asked to stop constantly talking about comic books. That request came from his wife. Deep down, he knew she was right, but he also knew that someday he would find someone that would talk to him. With nowhere else to go, he appeared at the home of his childhood friend Jim Segulin. Sometime earlier, Segulin's boss had requested that he shut up about his comic books and never speak of them again. Can two grown men put out a DC Comics podcast without driving each other crazy? It's Raging Bullets, the DC Comics fan podcast. With Sean Whalen as Dr. Norge, and Jim Segulin as the Sensei of the Whatnot and the Duke of You-Know. It's a spoiler podcast, so they will go in depth into the plot line, story twists, and whatnot of the comics they are reviewing. So if you haven't read the books, you may want to come back later so you may better enjoy the show.